Good morning and welcome. Councilmember Tupola, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Tupola, would you like to introduce your guest giving us the message of aloha today?
Thank you, Chair Waters, Honolulu Council members, members of the public, Olelo, clerks, everyone who's watching today. We have Crystal Akana with us. She actually was a former staff member of mine at the Hawaii State House. She's a resident in my district, the beautiful west coast of Oahu. She is the mom of 2 girls. They're sitting right there, cute matching dresses. Aloha righteous. Thank you, Remedy. She volunteers to coach for their soccer teams. Her husband is a Waianae native who is also Hawaii Army National Guard. She has paddled the demanding canoe race Nawahine Okekai, 42 miles from Molokai to Oahu. I'm just trying to demonstrate you well-rounded. She was also featured on Hawaii Stars, American Idol, TV Guide New York, Talk Story Live. She's been an on-air personality for 20 years. You can catch her on the radio station High 93 Oahu from Monday to Saturday and on Kumu, the Quiet Store, and 7 p.m. on weekdays. Please put your hands together for Crystal Akana.
Thank you. Good morning. I've been doing this for 20 years, like she says, and it never gets easier. I still get butterflies. I still get nervous. So thank you, Councilwoman Tupola. It has been a pleasure working with you. Thank you for continuing to fight the good fight and being brave and bold and working for our community. Members of the City Council, thank you so much for having me here today. Almost 21 years ago, I started a radio morning show. And within the first week, I started crying and I wanted to quit. And my partner back then, who is now Councilman Augie Toba, told me, if you want to do this, you have to have tough skin. I would never forget that. To do what we do in the public eye is never easy. Although I may not agree, we may not agree, I do appreciate your service and your time. You're always under a microscope. People will constantly judge you, ridicule you, persecute you, and condemn you. And I say, I pray for you. Before I turn the mic on at work, I say, Lord, help me that the words that come out of my mouth may be pleasing in your sight. Then I start my shift. We can never be perfect. We are never going to please everyone. And we're going to say things that people will misinterpret. But for me, I say, eyes on him. I ponder and reflect on where I was and where I am now, the immature person I once was and the woman I have grown to become. Self-reflection is in my daily routine. I look at my wrongs and how I can make them right. Sometimes we get so caught up with work that we forget our initial task. Why am I here? Why do I have the privilege to make these types of decisions? Who does this affect? And how am I being helpful? As a mom, my 2 girls are here. I want the very best for my children. I correct them immediately so it doesn't become a habit. That even if everyone else is doing it, it doesn't make it right. You continue to do the right thing. I'm here to tell you that as long as you are doing right by God, you will never be wrong. It may not be the popular decision. You will have a lot of pushback, but you'll be able to sleep well at night. I know I'm not everyone's favorite, but I know that people will say that Crystal is brave, Crystal is bold, and Crystal tells the truth. We live in a society where people say, speak your truth, live your truth, do what makes you happy. But what truth is that? The truth is not subjective. The truth is not what you or I say it is, but what God says it is. It is written not by me, but by him. The creator of heaven and earth, the one who gave us the breath of life, the opportunity for us to be here today, the one who gives us strength and clear direction. When you walk with God, you cannot be wrong. I am a flawed Christian, an imperfect one, a natural-born sinner, but I know who I belong to. I know when I am walking crooked and when I stumble and fall, I will get back up again. I make my wrongs right. I repent and ask for forgiveness because there is hope. There is always hope in the name of Jesus. For the future of Hawaii, Emperor Keiki, the decisions that we make today affect us and our generations to come. We can all make our wrongs right. We can make our crooked paths straight. We can get back up again when we fall. The beauty of it all is the freedom of choice that each of us has. Our choice, our decision, our consequence, or our reward. Kamakua ke keiki kauhane hemolele. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Members, I have to make a procedural announcement. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda, either in person, in the council chamber, or remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on public hearing and new business items, and a 1-minute presentation on all other items. For registered in-person testifiers, when your name is called, please proceed to the podium and begin by stating your name and the items you'll be speaking on. When I call for anyone who has not registered to speak in person, please line up to the right of the podium, and when it is your turn, proceed to the podium. Begin by stating your name and the item you'll be speaking on. For persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone, when your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. When I call for anyone else standing by remotely, please utilize the Zoom raised hand button to indicate your desire to speak. For those joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your television when you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by a roll call, unless unanimous. Therefore, I'll first call for objections. If there are any, I will then call the roll vote. For those council members participating outside the council chamber, in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audiovisual contact with you and cannot reconvene until we reestablish contact. Therefore, please announce beforehand if you will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. Members, for your information, Bill 26, relating to Honor Our Kupuna Month, published in the public hearing notice on Friday, May 24th, 2024, will not be included in today's agenda. On page 10, Resolution 24-116, CD1, initiating amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu, 1973, as amended in 2017, relating to the homelessness, which was published in the public hearing notice on Friday, May 24th, 2024, has also been canceled and will not be considered. The following items were not posted on the agenda for consideration. On page 12, we have a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Bill 21 CD1 relating to boards and commissions. On page 14, we have a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Bill 65 2023 CD2 relating to the adoption of the State Building Code. On page 16, we have a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Bill 16, CD1, relating to the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation operating budget for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. On page 18, we have a budget floor draft summary submitted by Councilmember Tupola and a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Bill 12, CD2, relating to the executive operating budget and program for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. On page 19, we have a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Bill 13, CD2, relating to the executive capital budget and program for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. On page 21, we have a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Bill 11, CD2, relating to the legislative budget for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. On page 23, we have a hand-carried proposed FD1 amendment to Resolution 24-138 CD1 relating to the transfer of funds. Also, members, after page 6, we will consider the items on page 15 through 23, the budget items. I'd like to move them up on the calendar, members. So we go 1 through 6, then we skip to 15 to 23, then come back to page 7. This includes Bill 23, CD1, Resolution 24-105, CD1, Bill 4, CD1, Bill 16, CD1, Bill 17, CD2, Bill 12, CD2, Bill 13, CD2, Bill 14, Bill 11, CD2, Resolution 24-61, Resolution 24-136, Resolution 24-137, and Resolution 24-138, CD1. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Here.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Here.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Here.
Councilmember Okimoto joining us remotely?
Present.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Here.
Councilmember Tupola?
Ayo.
Councilmember Wire?
Here.
Chair Waters?
Here.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 members present.
Thank you. The following council members are present in the council chambers. Councilmember Tupola, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, Say, Kia Aina, Cordero, Wire, and Tolba. The following council member is participating remotely by video conference. Councilmember Okimoto. Councilmember Okimoto, in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, please identify each person who is with you at your location.
Chair, no one is with me. I am alone.
Thank you very much. Also present in
Thank you.
council chambers are legislative branch staff, members of the city administration, media representatives, and a special duty police officer. As I stated earlier, Councilmember Okimoto, if you do need to depart, please let us know before doing so. Thank you.
Will do, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Floor Leader Cordero, introduction of guests.
Thank you. I think you mentioned all of the guests that we have in our chamber today. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kia Aina, motion to approve the minutes, please.
I move that the minutes of the 21st session be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered in-person or remote testifiers on the minutes?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the minutes have been approved. Moving to page 4, order of the day. Resolution 24-126 relating to the appointment of Lance Wilhelm to serve on the Board of Water Supply of the City and County of Honolulu. Mr. Wilhelm, aloha. Thank you so much for being here. Would you like to just say a few words?
Aloha mai kako. Council Chair and Council members. Lance Kiave Wilhelm ko'u inoa no kapahulu mai au noho ama kunia I kia manawa. My name is Lance Kiave Wilhelm, and I grew up in Kapahulu and live in Kunia at this present time. It's a privilege and an honor for me to be here today and to offer my service in this way to the good people of Honolulu. A question you might ask is, why would I want to serve on the Board of Water Supply, which is an excellent question, and one my wife asked me as well when I got up for work this morning. And I think the answer for me is fairly simple. Too much that is given, much is expected. And I've had the great good fortune in my time to accomplish many of the things I'd hoped to, and to do many things that have been a real blessing to me. And I've always felt that if there was some way that I could make a difference and be helpful, that I'd offer my service. So, and that's what I'm here to do today, and I really appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your willingness to serve. Members, any questions for the appointee? Councilmember Kia Aina.
No question, just some comments. First of all, nice to see you, Lance. I'm actually very excited, and the question that your wife asked, of course, is a question that I asked as well, myself, though. And the reason being, given your background, you could be so helpful to the city on a multitude of fronts, including the HART Board at this critical juncture in the HART project. But having said that, it's also a critical juncture for the Board of Water Supply, not just because of Red Hill and the need to ensure that we are looking for alternative water supply, but on updating its infrastructural needs. And I think that your construction background is going to be very, very helpful. I know for myself, I feel that we have such a strong narrative, but we need to know how to make sure we package it so that we are successful in not just formula federal funding, but competitive federal funding. And I've talked to the, of course, Ernie and his team about it. So I actually think we're very fortunate to have you there, because not only can you help with regard to their mission at hand, but I know you deeply care about our Aina. So look forward to having you on board.
Mahalo nui.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you so much for being here this morning. I do note that we have two registered testifiers. Member first, Erwin Kawata from Board of Water Supply. Aloha, Mr. Kawata. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Good morning, Council Chair, Vice Chair, and Council members. Erwin Kawata, Deputy Manager with the Board of Water Supply, speaking on Council Resolution 24-126. The Board of Water Supply stands on our testimony in support of this resolution relating to the appointment of Mr. Lance Wilhelm to serve as a member of the Board of Water Supply Board of Directors. Mr. Wilhelm's experience, accomplishments, and achievements make him well qualified to serve on the board. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Kawata? Seeing none, thank you, sir. We also have Stephanie Sakamoto from the Building Industry Association of Hawaii. Is Ms. Sakamoto here? Aloha and welcome.
Good morning, Stephanie Sakamoto on behalf of BIA Hawaii, in strong support of the nominee. We'll stand on our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, Resolution 24-126 has been referred to the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, and Health. Resolution 24-127, confirming the appointment of Arnold Wong to serve on the Fire Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. Aloha, Mr. Wong. Also, thank you for joining us. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Council. Also, Council Member Okimoto from afar. My name is Arnold Wong, and I just wanted to thank the Mayor and the Council for this opportunity. I've been on the Fire Commission before, and after the COVID hit and Fire Department came to help my parents of all and my aunties, I said there's stuff that's still undone that I wanted to help the Fire Department and the men of the Fire Department and women, sorry. And it appears to me that there are more things that can be done, especially if there's a catastrophic event that happens. It's always when that we have to prepare for this. And that's the reason I want to serve. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Well said. Members, any questions for Mr. Wong? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you. Just wanted to express my strong support for Mr. Wong. I do like the fact he has a very broad background, but I do like the fact that he was previously commissioner, because this is a crucial time, not just for Oahu, but the entire state to devise our fire mitigation strategies. And as the mayor has a team that's looking at how best to prepare Oahu, I'm hoping that the Fire Commission can also play a role by making sure that, at least with regard to the Hawaii Fire Department, that they know that we need to do better. And then, of course, the other issue that I care deeply about is rescues. And so I just wanted to let him know that. I know that under state law, the fire department has the authority to fine people for egregious abuse of violating laws or doing dangerous things that require rescues. And in my view, I would like them to utilize it. And if not, I think both ourselves as well as the state legislature should look at ways to narrowly tailor it, perhaps, to fine or to have those who know that there are that they're illegally hiking, that they pay for the full cost. A lot of people like to underestimate the cost, but you're talking about 17 personnel being called to pull someone off a lot of these areas, sometimes just because they didn't have adequate water supply, because they were ill prepared. And I think it's unfair for the taxpayer to be footing the bill, because the bill is between $10,000 to $20,000. So look forward to seeing Mr. Wong on the commission.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, Resolution 24-127 has been referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Turning to page 5, new business. Vice Chair Kia Aina.
I move that Resolution 24-125 be adopted.
Councilmember Cordero?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Kia Aina for the explanation.
This resolution accepts a gift of 40 windscreens valued at $10,000 to the city from the United States Tennis Association Hawaii Pacific for the fences surrounding the Jaron M. W. Iwase Tennis Center at the Patsy T. Mink Central Oahu Regional Park.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 24-125 has been adopted. Vice Chair Kia Aina.
I move that Resolution 24-149 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Kia Aina for the explanation.
This resolution relates to the reprogramming of American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, state and local fiscal recovery funds program in support of hazard pay.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola, followed by Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to speak in support of this. I think it's important for us. We've talked about it at the council level. We need it to be executed at the administrative level. We are the last county to get this done. We just want to make sure to show a lot of appreciation and for the dedication of the city employees who worked through the COVID period and are due their hazard pay. So just want to encourage the administration to move this along fast, because I think the more we derate on this, the more we're not going to know how much is left, and we're going to have to continue to build this into future city council budgets. So thank you for bringing this up. I think that this is overdue. I want to thank publicly all of our workers that are covered, and those who might not be covered. We just want to express our support and our gratitude for your work during COVID and for always being willing to serve the people of Honolulu. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair, for putting this resolution forward today. This measure would reprogram $8 million from ARPA funds that I had prioritized for the second phase of an agricultural grants program. And while, of course, it would have been nice to retain the funds, I believe that we must continue to move forward in designating adequate funding for hazard pay, and unfortunately, difficult decisions must be made. I hope we will continue to seek solutions for our local agricultural community, and I look forward to future discussions about reinstating the Agricultural Development Task Force. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations? Noted no objections or reservations. Resolution 24-149 has been adopted. Thank you, members. Moving to the top of page 6, Vice Chair Kia Aina.
I move that Resolution 24-150 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Kia Aina for the explanation.
This resolution adopts a revision to the public infrastructure map for the primary urban center development plan area.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Oh, excuse me. Is there a motion to amend?
I move that Resolution 24-150 be amended to the posted FD1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kia Aina, can you explain the amendment?
Sure. The FD1 amends the third whereas clause to clarify that the Honolulu Police Department's land acquisition request is to expand HPD's Alapa'i headquarters. It amends the fourth whereas clause to clarify the size and location of the proposed facility. It adds a new fifth whereas clause to provide that the HPD plans to acquire the land from the Queen Leokalani Trust for the development of a new facility annexed to HPD's Alapa'i headquarters to consolidate HPD's personnel and services, reduce HPD's expenses for long-term leases at various locations, and facilitate HPD's operational capabilities and proficiency. And lastly, it makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers on either the substance of the resolution or the amendment?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the amendment? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 24-150 has been amended to the posted FD1. Now, members, any discussion on the FD1? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba? Aye. Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. Resolution 24-150, FD1, has been adopted. Next, members, turn to page 15. Page 15. From the Committee on Executive Management, Councilmember Say.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that Committee Report 189 be adopted and Bill 23, Committee Draft 1, pass third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Say for the explanation.
This particular resolution was in regards to the gifts to the city officials and employees.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers, 1 person remotely indicating their desire to testify.
Thank you so much. I do believe we have someone from the Ethics Commission. Aloha, welcome. Can you please state your name?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Council members. My name is Lori Wong-Nowinski, and I'm the Assistant Executive Director and Legal Counsel for the Honolulu Ethics Commission. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify in support of this measure. I just want to thank the City Council once again for ushering this bill forward for passage before the end of the fiscal year. It has been the Commission's long intent to strengthen and clarify the city's gift bill, and we believe that this bill does just that. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your hard work on the bill as well. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, we have Angela Young standing by remotely.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha City Council, Angela Melody Young testifying. Wishing to comment. So although we should abide by the strict congressional standards of the law, as was mentioned in the Ethics Commission's deliberations during committee, we should also consider the Hawaiian way in showing aloha with gifts. And one of the standing customs in the Aloha State is gift giving. And it's something of a means to create relationships, and also it's something to show Hawaiian culture and to share the aloha spirit, the spirit of love, compassion, and hospitality. And so also, while we're going over technicalities, what if someone gives $20 of manapuas, right? And then they put the manapua in the freezer until next year. Does the manapua apply to the year prior or the next year? I think it's just so important to discuss because the limit is being brought down to $50, right? So while we're discussing the technicalities, that should be deliberated. Because, I mean, it's so important to discuss the ethics of this. And also, what if you eat half the box of manapuas and then put the others in the freezer until next year? Is it $10 for the year prior and then $10 for the next year, right? I'm just wondering. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Kia Aina.
I just want to thank the executive director of the Ethics Commission as well as her staff. I know this was a very important issue, as well as for the members. So, and thank you, Chair, for your leadership. We said that we were going to get this done before the end of the fiscal year, and I'm glad that it's coming through fruition. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Members, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 189 has been adopted, and Bill 23, CD1, has passed third reading. Moving to the bottom of page 15, Councilmember Say.
Mr. Chair, I move that Committee Report number 190 and Resolution 24-105, Committee Draft 1, as amended, be adopted.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Say for the explanation.
Initiating amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu of 1973, amended 2017 edition, as amended, relating to salaries.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have one person remotely standing by.
Okay, please proceed.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Thank you for joining us. Please proceed.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Tim Gary. I was going to testify on Bill 23, but you didn't call on me. So I'd like to raise an objection. I don't know if we can go back and testify or not, but.
You can. Please proceed with Bill.
Okay. Bill 23. After reading the discussion by the Ethics Commission and taking in the public perception of public officials in corruption, I oppose Bill 23 and if passed, I urge the mayor to veto this bill. Looking back at former violations by former council members, do the right thing and institute a no-gift policy. In an article in the Star Advertiser Monday reporting this bill, in the comments section, an overwhelming number of the comments opposed this bill. Also, I'd like to thank Calvin Say for his wisdom and service. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you also like to testify on Resolution 24-105, Mr. Gary?
No, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers on Resolution 24-105?
Yes, we have Chun James standing by.
Okay, thank you. Aloha, Ms. James. Please proceed.
Hello, aloha. I'm the same with Team Gary. I actually wanted to testify for 23. Just the comments about the gifts. I just wanted to say that the public charter is that while the city council is debating about Manini $50 gifts, politicians receive hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign donations. So are these donations not gifts to political employees, although it is a legal campaign fare? For example, the mayor, in his first 6 months, collected $600,000 towards his campaign fund. So I believe that it is very hard to legislate morality. We had a wonderful experience with a city worker who we were offering plate lunch to everybody just because everyone was there. And then he said, well, I cannot accept it. And I was just so impressed with his integrity. It is easier to just say no gifts. And then if there's somebody who is very blatant, then you could address that. And gifts like lace and aloha style thing, I think we should just not even go there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, in an abundance of caution, I think that perhaps we should do a motion to recall Bill 23 and take the vote again, just in case. So, members, is there a motion?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Members, any objections to recalling Bill 23 CD1 and redoing the vote?
No objections. for
No
me.
objections. Okay, so ordered. Thank you, members. Mr. Clerk and members of the public, is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 23 CD1? Ms. Iwasa, aloha. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Chair, council members. I'm not sure quite what's happening here with the agenda, but I definitely support the intent, moving from 200 down to 50. I do have some concerns as I laid out in my testimony for the committee meeting. It's not real clear to me on the timing of some of this. For example, if somebody knows a lessee and the lease expires, does that third party is still a prohibited gift situation? So if what you're doing now is putting it back in committee, I'm not quite sure, but I do think that we need to get this right, and I'm not comfortable or confident that that's where we're at right now. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the members of the public, we voted on Bill 23 CD1 without fully taking public testimony. Therefore, I asked to recall it to allow folks to testify on Bill 23 CD1. Is there anybody else who wishes to testify on Bill 23 CD1, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, we are in discussion again. Seeing none, roll call, please, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 189 has been adopted and Bill 23 CD1 has passed third reading. Members, to the bottom of page 15, again, let's do the motion all over. Council members say.
Mr. Chair, I move that committee report number 190 and resolution 24-105, committee draft 1, as amended, be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Council members say for the explanation.
This is initiating amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu of 1973, amended in 2017 edition, as amended relating to our legislative salaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers on resolution 24-105?
Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa in the chamber.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Iwasa. I know you folks have worked a lot on this issue, but I oppose the current version. And the main reason is that you removed yourselves from voting on your own raises. The reason I am concerned about that is it removes flexibility from the budgeting process. So while I understand that there's a cap on there, you've put in the average collective bargaining increase, that kind of thing, I can't support it. And I had asked a couple of times to have a discussion with the Ethics Commission in public to clarify whether it was truly a conflict of interest for you folks to vote on your raises. Now I see on the legislative budget for today, there's one potential disclosure of conflict of interest. And so, you know, we have this kind of unclear situation, and that's not good public policy. So I oppose this and ask you to vote no, and then perhaps ask the Charter Commission, I could think they convene next year, to take up the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none.
I
Mr.
did have
Clerk.
one, Chair.
Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Councilmember Wire.
Yeah, Ms. Iwasa, appreciate the testimony. I just, given just, you know, the discussion, you know, and just analysis from other jurisdictions, from folks that are involved in the legal field and ethics and best practice, I'm just curious why you're saying that it's better policy for council members to decide their salary.
No, you're not, well,
it just seems weird to me.
It's coming as a recommendation from somebody. I'm asking for clarification. You are actually just removing it on your own unilaterally without getting clarification from the Ethics Commission. And I don't think that it's good public policy to just kind of leave that issue hanging out there and to just decide, well, we're just not gonna vote on it. And as I mentioned, the Salary Commission really, they aren't looking at the budget. They are looking at, as I understand it, other issues related to setting salaries. So I just have those concerns, and yeah, it's too bad that you didn't discuss it, because I mentioned it twice in my testimony.
I think we did discuss it. I mean, you're bringing up specifically the conflict of interest part, right?
Specifically, the
Yeah.
conflict of interest.
Which is narrower than just the broader discussion of how, you know, weird it is we're the only county that allows council members to vote on it.
Right. Well, so just because another group does it one way doesn't mean that that's the best way, nor does it mean that that's the way that we should be doing it. So, you know, I've always supported the Ethics Commission, and I think that when they are there and they have that expertise, you folks should use it rather than having some people treat it this way and some people treat it another way, and then all of a sudden unilaterally deciding, well, we're not gonna vote on it.
Okay. Sorry, I won't take up too much time, Chair, but I presume you've read the coverage that's come out and the discussion of policies in other places outside of just Hawaii and just the, you know, just best practices in this particular area. And so I guess I'm just trying to understand why they're, aside from the ethics concerns, right, or the conflict issue, if you have any policy justification that you would say would warrant council members being able to vote on their own salaries, like why, any policy support, or like what would be the best practice out of that?
You know, I I'm sorry, I don't. I spend a lot of time on testimony, but I also have a full-time job and other commitments, so I don't. I just feel that it wasn't adequately covered in the committee meetings. Now, there are probably many people who would say, oh, it's good enough because they did this, this, and this. But in my opinion, you skipped a step. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Topolo.
Just a follow-up question. I just want to thank you for always being really active in testifying. I know it must take up a lot of time, and of course, you always do a lot of research on it. I would just add two thoughts. One is that I do believe because, and Chair can correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe the way we wrote it doesn't remove the mayor from being able to still have the ability to reject. The second thing is that we only made it specific to us, to ourselves. So as far as the whole rest of the salaries, I believe we can still have a say in that. So I just wanted to bring that out there, that it wasn't us removing it totally from every single salary discussion. We were saying removing ourselves from our own salary discussion, but still giving the mayor purview as he has had in the past over all salary decisions. So hope that brings some clarity there.
I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions, members? Councilmember Say.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I wanted to thank you for the process that we went through with regards to the executive committee. Yes, before the committee, there was 11 different proposals submitted by our own colleagues. We took yours as the vehicle to use, and then we went resolution by members of the council to go over their pros and cons of what has transpired. So what we have here this morning is a consensus from all executive management committee members who have decided that this proposal before us that will be put on the charter will be given an opportunity for an up or down by the general public at large. I can understand Ms. Iwasa's position because publicly at that hearing, you folks know for the record, I said, if the system isn't broken, what are we trying to fix? And I just was very honest that the reason why we were in this predicament last year is that our predecessors for the past 18 years did not want to address their pay raises. So it put the onus on the elected officials at that point in time. So that's why I'm saying in strong support, it is a start as far as seeing how the general public will react to this particular committee draft one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have Chun James standing by remotely.
Okay, let's go with June James, and then we have someone in person to testify. Aloha, June James, please proceed.
Hey, aloha. My concerns there is that it appears that the city council is happy to allow a non-elected salary commission make that decision for them. I think that is where there are concerns for people. You know, you guys are elected. I mean, as a city council, you all have given like what, 25,000 for your office expenses, or 300,000 for each district to do parks, and people have not squawk about all those things. So I think it's best to just keep it the way it is. The salary commission is appointed group, and because they're not elected, that it ought to be the responsibility and accountability of the elected city council to make that decision. And I don't expect that there will be a lot of 64% increases in the near future. but to me, the big difference is that you all are elected and the salary commission people are not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. As you know, this is a charter amendment, and the people will be allowed to decide this on the ballot.
Right.
Thank you, members. Any other questions for Chun James? Seeing none, thank you so much. Next, I believe we also have remotely CARES. Please proceed.
Aloha, City Council. Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES. So I was the only one to testify, or one of the only ones, I think, to testify last year about the raise. And I stand by the raise. The quality of work determines the salary. And I think the city and the quality of the work there is good. So I testify for the raise, and relating to this resolution, sometimes when a discussion gets stuck, I think it's because it's going in circles. So Karis just wants to bring up the concern. Generally, you want to start looking at other counties and jurisdictions and what they're doing within the subject matter. So for example, you can look at the state resource, the human resources development, DHERD, which explains the salary commissions in the Constitution of the State of Hawaii, Article XVI, Section 3.5. There shall be a commission on salaries as provided by law, which will review and recommend salaries for the justice and judges, members of the legislature, department heads or executive officers of the executive departments, and the deputies and assistants, and also other departments, excluding the University of Hawaii and the Department of Education. And also the commission shall review salaries for the governor and the LG. So I think that is a good resource to refer to if this discussion needs a little of advising. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other remote testifiers?
No, that concludes the remote testifiers. We have another person in the chamber.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Please proceed.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Walin Christian. I've been here from the beginning with this whole pay raise thing, so I think you folks have come a long way from when it started, so I appreciate that. I appreciate the dialogue that you folks gave me so I have better understanding. I think the one thing that I do want to say, I agree with Andrea, what has happened. It's a great thing you folks take yourselves out of that position to determine your own pay raise, because the people really should determine that, and I think I spoke that earlier, that needs to go onto the ballot, and that's where it needs to stay. As far as I believe what we're discussing right now is just a charter amendment. So I think when we deal with the charter, I have not read it thoroughly, of course. Simplistic is the easiest way for the people to understand. So all I ask is that when you do word this, that it's in a simplistic mode for the general public to understand, as well as people like me who do come in to testify. So I am in support of it at this point. However, there are still questions as to how it's going to be worded so that the people can understand. And once again, to me, the final determination should be the people to determine if you folks get a pay raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tupola.
No question, no question. I just wanted to thank you because there were lots of people who came last year and you kind of stuck through it, and every hearing I've been showing up, taking off time off work to give us your thoughts. So just wanted to thank you as just a community member, getting involved civically. Like, good job. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Chair, I just want to echo the sentiments by my colleague, Councilmember Tupola. Thank you very much for your dialogue, being open to hearing from all of us, and conversations before and after the meetings and just throughout the hearings as well. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilmember? Nope. Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else wishing to testify on Resolution 24-105 CD1? Seeing none, members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Chair. There was a large opposition to the 64% salary increase in 1 year for council members, and we heard the public. I did read through all of the Salary Commission's reasons for the raise, but I did not think a one-time increase that large was fair to our city workers and people across Hawaii struggling to survive. The public outcry for the change at the Salary Commission and this resolution brings the change needed. One of the most fair ideas was brought forward by yourself, Chair Waters, tying the council raises to collective bargaining. Public workers are lucky to even get a 2% raise a year and will never see a 64% raise. We are so grateful for all the people who help us to run this city, provide the much needed public service at our parks, facilities, roads, at the DMV, cleaning the streams, picking up trash, driving the bus, and much, much more. I think it's only fair that if city employees don't get a raise, neither should the council, and we must lead by example. The topic of a cap was brought forward by Councilmember Tolba at 10%, Councilmember Wire 3.5%, and I discussed the 5% cap. The cap is more like a backstop, as the new guidance for the Salary Commission will be to watch the collective bargaining numbers. As we can't predict the future, and we know that 64% is way too high for one time, settling at 5% is much more fair, and I thank this council for agreeing on that. Councilmember Okimoto brought up taking out council members out of voting on our own salaries, and Chair Waters also had called it a conflict of interest, and today we're solving that problem by creating guardrails for the commission, taking ourselves out of approving or disapproving suggested salary raises. I do agree with Ms. Chun James that possibly in the charter, when we further amend the charter, that we should discuss how the commission members are chosen. But for today, I am very happy with this proposal. I am grateful that the question is short, as it needs to be simple to be effective on the ballot. I thank Chair Waters for his leadership in bringing so many ideas together to address the public's concern and create a ballot initiative to change the Salaries Commission guidelines in the city charter. Mahalo nui.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Tolpa.
Thank you, Chair. I got a question for Cor.
Sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, I have two questions. Do you see any legal issues with the ballot question or the portion that says remove the council's authority to vote on its own raises?
The resolution, Dwayne Payne, Deputy Corporation, the resolution is a proposal to amend the charter. So it would, if it's amended, it would dictate what the charter is. I don't, as I see it now, I don't think it conflicts with anything else in the charter. The question that is proposed was drafted by council, and so that's the question that will be presented on the ballot and to the voters. So that is the question.
Now, Mr. Pang, if the voters are vote in favor of the amendment, what authority would council members have in terms of voting on any raise proposed by the Salary Commission?
Voting on any proposal. As I recall, the clarification was that you will not be voting on your pay raises, and as I understand it, the salaries for the other elected officials will take effect if you don't reject it. But I have to look at the last amended version. Okay. Hold on, let me see. With respect to the other city officers, you will have the authority to reject those salaries. You will not have the authority to reject the salaries or approve or reject the salaries of council members.
Thank you, Mr. Pang. Chair, I just wanted to say thank you. I support this resolution because it gives voters an opportunity to weigh in on the issues at the ballot box. I think a lot of public trust was broken when we allowed the one-time 64% raise for the council members to go through. I think this resolution and charter amendment is one step towards maybe building public trust in government again. And I hope the question is clear enough to the voters. Shall we cap any salary increases for council members at 5% and base any increase on the average salary increase that's determined by collective bargaining? If the city workers get an average 3% raise, council members get 3% raise. A 5% cap is a clear message to the public that we heard the uproar about the 64% raise and it will never happen again. So again, Chair, thank you for giving all the proposed charter amendments public hearings, and I thank you for moving this resolution forward so the voters can make a choice on this very important matter. I've said this before, this is taxpayer money. Our salaries as council members are taxpayer money. So let's make sure our bosses, the taxpayers, have a choice and a seat at the table. Thank you, Chair. Mahalo.
Well, thank you. Members, any further discussion? I do want to point out, though, that we as individuals, although as a body we wouldn't have the opportunity to reject the raises for ourselves, but individually we can, which I believe a number of us have done. Any further discussion?
Chair,
I'm sorry.
Chair, can I?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't do the raise hand. I just, before you end the discussion.
Councilmember Okimoto, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to echo the sentiments of my colleagues and just thank you for all the time and effort that has been placed into this. And I know it's in great part because we each individually and collectively really have the interest of our constituents and the residents of Oahu in mind. I'm thankful that you were able to come to a compromise in many ways. The one thing that I think has been stated repeatedly today, and just to clarify that in removing us from, first of all, I think it should be stated that we never voted, we don't select, we don't choose. The commission, which was voted on by the voters years ago, they chose it and through their research and their hard work, they set the salary recommendations. And I think in looking at the other counties, the reason that I put that into the resolution I proposed was to keep it an honest process where we were not left in the position that Councilmember Say mentioned, and you have yourself as well, where we had to make it up for decades of it being a political decision versus just what would have been the right thing to do along the years. So I think this is a great step in the right direction. I would like to just clarify so that the public understands that we're not trying to be not transparent or remove ourselves from some kind of process, but this is actually a good thing for the voters to then be able to choose and decide on, but also to hold us accountable because we're not going to then be making decisions for political reasons. And I think that the resolution moving forward really addresses the things that we had to discuss last year, which were hard decisions for all of us. And we all made them, for our own respective reasons. But I think moving forward, we have a lot of good work that we need to do and hard issues that we need to address. And therefore, I know that all of us put in many hours. So I think that it's a good thing for us to recognize that in removing us from the process, it's, again, not to not be transparent, but to keep the process honest. And therefore, it never becomes a year where we have to make up for decades of lapsed pay increases. But thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Before we take the roll, Mr. Clerk, just thank all the members. We all participated in, I think, a very healthy discussion. Many of you had drafts yourself, which we all considered, ultimately coming up with 24-105 CD1. So thank you, members, for your hard work. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 190 has been adopted and Resolution 24-105 CD1 has passed third reading. Moving to the top of page 16 from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that committee report 161 be adopted and Bill 4 CD1 as amended past third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
This bill amends ordinance number 01-28, which amends the authorization of the City and County of Honolulu to issue general obligation commercial paper in order to clarify and facilitate the use of such debt.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. I do note that we do have Director of Budget and Fiscal Services, Kawano, present. If members have any questions, we are in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Tauba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 161 and bill has been adopted, and Bill 4 CD1 has passed third reading. Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 158 be adopted and Bill 16 CD1 as amended pass third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
This relates to the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation operating budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
Thank you.
Also, I move that Bill 16 CD1 be amended to the hand-carried FD1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation of the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to make this FD1 makes a clarification that it restores $264,000 in current expenses for the HART board support. This amendment corrects any error from a previous budget committee meeting where I rejected this proposed reduction and it was erroneously included in the bill. Mahalo.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, sir, we have Ms. Iwasa in the chamber.
Thank you so much. Good morning again, Ms. Iwasa. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record, speaking in my individual capacity. Just some comments. You may recall back in April that, no, I guess it was March, that I brought up the concern that the HART board has taken the position that they can change the budget. So, you know, there was ample time for you to fix that. And I understand why they do that, because Section 17-104 and Section 17-106 of the revised charter seem to conflict with each other. You could have fixed that, but you haven't. And so we're just going through an exercise, going through the motions, checking the box. And I'm just really disappointed that there's no charter amendment to fix that. And I also oppose that PR for the board. I just think that we don't need another PR consultant for HART. We have one already. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Cordero, followed by Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Mrs. Iwasa. Thank you very much for that discussion. I know that it was a huge discussion in both our CD1 and our CD2 discussions in March and in April. And I know that hopefully, will you be willing to keep us apprised of what's going on with the PR contracts moving forward, as we will be looking at it again next year and seeing how it fits into HART's budget, and if we need to possibly make amendments in the future budget.
As I'm able to, yes.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, just echoing the same. I also didn't think that there was need for another communications consultant. I verbally said that. They said maybe give it a try for a year, see if it's not necessary. But I personally have met with Payne Communication that the current contract is. I don't see any reason on why there can't be an expanded scope if there needs to be more website updates or documents uploaded for public view. So please let us know, because like Councilmember Cordero said, we are in favor of like trimming the fat, but when people in the board say we need this, then I get it. We'll try it. We'll see how it goes, but we don't need to be spending excess money that we don't need to. So thank you for your service. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to amend, members? Seeing none. Oh, excuse me. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have 2 persons indicating with their hands raised, standing by remotely.
Okay, let's go with the remote testifiers, and I believe we have someone else who wants to testify in person. June James, please proceed.
Aloha. While we are still talking about the amendments a little bit, I would seriously consider you all discussing about the resolving the HART board. There have been talks about it. Should we dissolve the HART board and have it be absorbed by the transportation department. I think those are very important questions that we're now at a junction where it should be considered and reviewed. With the current acrimony, and this is not the first time, it happens all the time. It really may be a good time to start exploring the possibility. In fact, we should do it just to try to contain this whole mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, next we have Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, City Council, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. So this bill is for an appropriation of funds for the HART train, including administration, budget, finance, IT, construction, core systems, design engineering, board support, procurements, and contracts. So I went to the public meeting last month, and right now there is a large discussion about human resources and managing projects. So I'm testifying to support this HART appropriation because delays in construction, such as with STG, causes settlements, and although that settlement was reached last year. So just want to be supportive. Thanks. Okay.
Thank you. Any other remote testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
That concludes the remote testifiers.
Okay, let's move to in-person. Aloha again. Please proceed.
Good morning. I did not read this. However, I will adamantly say this about, and I'm assuming the rapid transit is about the rail. I would say at least 80% of our community is against it. So they are so delayed over budget from the original proposition of what this was going to cost. I'm not sure what authority you folks have, because I believe rail is actually statewide. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you do have some type of authority, I think the people want to know, okay, first off, they just think it's a waste of money. I mean, all of you have heard it. I think what we need to do is do, and I have to be careful how I say this, do an external audit on HART, because it has grown so astronomical that I think a lot of our financial burden is particularly with that one instance in the rail. I myself, I'm against the rail. I myself think that it should just be completely stopped at this point to save the people money. And if I'm stepping out of line with that, my apologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier members? Seeing none, are there any other testifiers on this measure? Thank you. I do note that we do have members from HART. Rick Keene, Deputy Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer, is also present. Members, if you have any questions. Members, we're in discussion. This is on a motion to amend, yeah? Councilmember Say.
Mr. Chair, in strong support of the chair's amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, any objections or reservations to the motion to amend? Noting no objections or reservations, Bill 16, CD1 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Any objections or reservations to waiving Council Rules 19G, the 48-hour notice? Noting no objections or reservations, the 48-hour notice has been waived. Now, members, to the FD1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 158 has been adopted in Bill 16. CD1, FD1 has passed third reading. Members, moving to the top of page 17. Councilmember Cordero.
move that Committee Report 159 be adopted and Bill 17 CD2 as amended pass third reading. And this bill relates to the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation capital budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as well as explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa signed up in the chamber.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Council members, Natalie Wassa for the record. I'm speaking in my individual capacity. You may recall back in April, I brought up concerns with the HART Board and the CEO's contract. And so first of all, I want to thank the mayor for finally taking a position on this. I have another concern, however, that's only part of it because in our HART Board meetings recently, a number of them have struggled to meet quorum. And so if we can't meet quorum, we can't vote on issues. And so I ask you to consider that going forward because there are a number of things I think you could do, revise the makeup of the board or likely that. So the other thing I was wondering is, the procurement for the city center guideway and stations, which is what is the bill is appropriating funds for, that procurement the bids are scheduled to come in July. And so I'm wondering, what is your plan if those bids come in higher than expected? The legislature is likely not going to extend the GT. They just cut medical services out. They cut the income tax. They're going to be stressed for funds. So, what is your plan? I think the public really deserves to have a discussion. Have you folks discussed that? Because I think it's going to fall in your laps. The FTA has been clear. They're not going to provide any more funding, maybe a few million here with another grant or different grants that come up. But realistically speaking, what is going to happen if the bids come in higher? So I ask you to consider that and actually have a discussion on that in the next coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier members? Seeing none, thank you. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have two persons standing by remotely.
Okay, I believe that's June James and Angela Melody Young. June James first, please proceed.
Aloha. I've always expressed my concern that the Honolulu skyline has been a fiscal disaster and that we seem to be controlled by status quo, and it appears that we're just going to allow status quo to continue, even though there are so many sunken cost discussions that we need to talk about. And especially as real eats more and more into the city budget, the only option really, or the quickest option, the low hanging fruits is the property taxes. And I can tell you that everyone that I've talked to, I've met at the shopping center, at Footland, whatever, everybody is concerned about the rising costs, property taxes, fees, and this and that. And really it's time to totally look at the Honolulu Rail project all over again and see what we can do to contain and reset this project and go on from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, June James. Next we have Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. So this appropriation of funds is for the General Obligation Bonds, Federal Funding, and Transit Fund. So the House Bill 2380 CARES testified for in the Senate Transportation and Culture and the Arts Committee to support, which is also to support providing funds, which I think goes along with this proposal being heard today. So it's good to provide the funding, and the bill that we testified for was an emergency appropriation of special funds to allow the Department of Budget and Finance to disperse funds for the Mass Transit Special Fund. Yeah, it's something that CARES just wants to be supportive of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola?
Thank you so much, Chair. Just wanted to, as we conclude these two HART bills, to make comment and allow me a little bit of latitude, because I do think that it has to do a lot with leadership within the executive director and the people who work for her. I think that we wouldn't be where we're at if it wasn't for her. I totally agree with all the sentiments that have been shared about the public's concerns. Chun James is always right there, you know, checking all the numbers. Natalie Wasa, I mean, honestly, when we have, or if we ever have a public access room, we can put your faces right on that wall because you've been such strong civic advocates. And I think that those concerns have been largely addressed by Executive Director Lori Kahikina, and I just need to say that. I need to say that when this all started, when she came on board, that the project was in shambles, over budget, in deficits, facing extreme public opposition. The full funding grant agreement had only had 744 million released, and we were waiting on the rest of the 1.55 billion. You know, she questioned change orders, she tightened the budget, she cut contracts that were not beneficial to the city. She successfully presented an amended version of the full funding grant agreement to the Federal Transportation Authority and got that approved so that we could have milestones where we could release some of these funds that are needed to finish the project. This required meticulous work, lots of engineering to be as clear as possible to the public, to the administration, and with the federal government. The beginning of the rail started in 2005, and under her leadership, finally a portion of the rail was able to be open to the public. We are all public servants, including Ms. Kahikina, and that comes with a lot of public scrutiny. We can all be better, and that's why we bring different ideas to the table so that we can improve ourselves and improve our service to the city. Let's attack ideas and not people. I want to thank Ms. Kahikina for her dedication and for her resilience. In our life, the greatest test is how we handle people who have mishandled us. I want to encourage her to continue to show forth the leadership we need to get this done. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? Councilmember Say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In strong support, I think the general public realizes that the measure that we had before us earlier in regards to the Bill 16 dealt with the operating budget side. Operating budget is for the personnel, et cetera, et cetera. This budget that we have before us is what I call the capital improvement budget, or we call it local style construction. That's the construction side of the overall operations of HART. Mr. Chair, I am in strong support today because I truly believe the executive director and the HART board has done a tremendous job in getting to where we are today. And my feeling is that we should get to a civic center also with the agreement that we did with the FTA. What struck me really surprising, and I really was very happy to see, when the HART board and the executive director decided to file a major lawsuit against one of the general contractors in not meeting the deadline of what the construction of some of our centers will be. That shows that they are very much diligently watching the taxpayers' money. First and foremost, excuse me. First and foremost, the revenues do come from the general excise tax, the transit accommodations tax, and also the 2% TAT once more tax that the state gave us the opportunity. Today, I am very proud that we are moving ahead, and yes, it's going to take time, but that's what government does. We take time in getting our projects off the books also. So in closing, both bills I feel is comparable to one another in fulfilling our obligation, our goals, in seeing that we get it done all the way to our civic center. So in closing, Madam Chair Cordero, thank you very much for a job well done on your HART package, and let's hope we can get to where we want to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola,
Aye.
Councilmember Wire,
Aye.
Chair Waters.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 159 has been adopted and Bill 17, CD2, has passed third reading. Members, moving to the top of page 18. Page 18, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 155 be adopted and Bill 12 CD2 as amended pass third reading. And this bill is the Executive Operating Budget and Program for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero did the explanation. Members, after considering all your amendments, I have drafted a hand-carried FD1 that presents a balanced executive operating budget for FY 2025. Is there a motion to amend? Councilmember Kia Aina.
I move to amend Bill 12 CD2 to the hand-carried FD1 identified as OCS 2024-0597.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero or Councilmember Kia Aina for the explanation of the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. This amendment appropriates $3,603,445,363 for the Executive Operating Budget and Program for fiscal year 2025. It also makes various substantive changes which are noted in bold text in the amendment list contained within the bill, which you can see on amendment list pages 2, 6, 8, 10, 13, 17, 20, 21, 23 to 26, 28, 30, and 33. It also makes various technical and non-substantive amendments.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, sir. We have both in-chamber and remote testifiers.
Okay, please proceed.
We have Ms. Iwasa signed up in person.
Okay. Aloha again, Ms. Iwasa. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. Just a comment with respect to the hand-carried FD1s. It makes it really difficult for the public to know exactly what you're going to be voting on when you have hand-carried FD1s. But I do appreciate that you're incorporating the other amendments. I just want to bring up a concern in general. You know, I rode through town the other day, and the homeless are living on the sidewalks. Some places you can't even get through, like on Keomoku and King Street. They're blocked, and it's just such a bad situation. And yet we have a system here which allows certain organizations, labor unions, business leagues to pay only $300 a year in real property taxes when they would normally be paying over $20,000. So I ask you, and I know that there's a proposed amendment coming up in the legislative budget, but this has been going on for a long, long time, and it's just not a fair and equitable system. The city does have the information. They do, what they would need to do is put it together to determine how many of those organizations fall into that nonprofit, quote-unquote, charitable definition. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Councilmember Kia Aina.
Chair, no questions. I just wanted to make a comment because it's an important issue and she might not be aware. Because of our dire budgetary constraints and the fact that we are not at the finish line with hazard pay, hence the $8 million reprogramming, the $1 million that I sought for a overhaul review of the our tax code regrettably is not going to be in our legislative budget. But I did want to say to Ms. Iwasa that we are hoping to start up a real property tax, what's the name of the group again? Permitted Interaction Group. And we fully intend on putting up those items that you discussed, which with regard to current exemptions as well as the vacancy home discussion. So I just wanted to let you know that that is on our radar.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other in-person testifiers on the administration's executive budget?
None registered.
Okay, let's go to registered or remote testifiers. I believe we have Chun James and Angela Melody Young again. Chun James, please proceed.
I know you all have worked very hard, and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of penciling out and penciling in. But I have always wondered, why is it that we cannot ever come up with a budget that is lower than before? It's always higher and higher and higher and higher. There must be a way for us to have the mindset and to contain that tax and spend. And I am appreciative that City Council member Esther is exploring all those options of property taxes, breaks, and this and that. Those are important, and we need to continue to do that. But I can tell you that people are afraid. People are worried. People are actually suffering. Oahu in the Aiea area actually has one of the highest credit card debt in the whole nation. So it will be a dream come true for me if I can see a budget that is lower than the preceding year. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. James? Councilmember Say.
Yes, Mr. Chair. May I just make a comment on behalf of myself and sharing it with the testifier, June James? Like any household that we have in Hawaii, Oahu primarily, June is very difficult to control our expense side. Yes, you are correct that we have the revenue side, which is our income that we get from working at different jobs, doctors, professionals, etc. But more importantly, Mr. Chair, a budget is never static. It will always have to increase. If I share with the board, the members of the council, we'll be having to address June next year collective bargaining increases for all of our first responders, which I truly, humbly agree upon. Your first responders, your police, your fire, your ambulance, your Opala, your sewer system workers, etc., etc. They are all deserving of what they negotiate as part of collective bargaining. Is that static? No, it's going to increase, and that's why you have these automatic increases in county government budget. The other one that we're having a hard time, which we talked about past 3 years, is in regards to the OPEB. June, you know what OPEB is? Other public employee benefit package? We have to fund all of that also. The health fund, etc. And then finally, the issue that we have as a mandated cost to us is the increased costs of our debt service. So how do you want us to not provide these funding for these particular appropriations of all of this that is tied to this budget? This morning, I give a lot of credit, Mr. Chair, to Chair Cordero for an excellent job well done in her negotiation with the administration in seeing that the council members' add-ons are part of it. But in closing, June, that's why I say to you, I cannot control the expense side. All we can try to do is address the revenue side, our income side. Because no matter what, the discussion we had in regards to salaries, our public employees will get their collective bargaining pay raises as they start the negotiation in the fall of this year. And I'm just happy that this budget is a balanced budget that we are presenting to the mayor. Also take into consideration that this budget also tries to address the hazard pay funding that we have to fund our employees who are first responders during COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of City Council. So CARES is concerned about the homelessness subject matter. So CARES works with a group of churches, and a church we works with CORE, Crisis Outreach Response Engagement, and CARES is not proposing legislation about the budget or appropriations for homelessness. So I can talk about this because there is no conflict of interest. And I'm very concerned about this subject matter relating to the appropriations for CORE and homelessness, because I'm surprised to learn that there is only a very little amount for administration for operations outside of downtown and Waikiki for CORE. And it looks like the appropriations from the state, a $3 million request for CORE for the Department of Emergency Services to the City and County of Honolulu for GIA was blocked before it got to Ways and Means. So I was very surprised that there is not a lot of appropriations for CORE. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Patty Kauhane standing by remotely.
Okay. Aloha, Ms. Kauhane, please. Oh, please proceed.
Aloha, Council Chair and members. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify in support of Bill 01224. My name is Patty Kauhane, and I'm the President and CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Hawaii. Our organization would be one of the additional 15 organizations to receive funding if the GIA award ceiling is reduced to $150,000. Our Honolulu Club is our largest club in membership, staffing, and physical size. It serves nearly 1,000 youth aged 7 through 18 years every year. Safe spaces, caring adult mentors, and positive youth development programs lead to healthy, successful, community-minded adults. $25 a year membership fee to access our life-changing programs means affordability to our families, 95% of whom are experiencing financial difficulties. Our programs are structured for years of engagement, providing our youth with access to circles of influence and resources they would not have otherwise. Mahalo for investing into our next generation of leaders.
Thank you. Thank you for all your service to the community. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Okay, members, we're in discussion. Again, we're on the motion to amend. Yeah, but Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, in support of the FD1, I just want to thank you for incorporating some of the comments that I had put into mine. You know, I am constantly advocating for more maintenance of our West Side parks because the West Siders love their beach parks. So the changes that I had contributed in the FD1 were specifically from a council communication 363 from Director Thielen to redistribute 1.6 million. So it was actually a net zero change, but putting it into the right categories. Specifically, what we wanted to see was the funding for the forklift, trucks for parks maintenance, as well as mowers that are really critical to DPR's operations. So I want to thank her and, of course, all the DPR staff for really addressing some of the deficits. You know, we have currently only 71 maintenance positions, and she's bumping that up. We don't have any second shift or special crews. She's changing that. We have no compactor. She's changing that. So I'm positive, you know, that this is the right direction, and I'm happy, but also hoping to see these changes make a physical difference. So just wanted to thank them. And of course, thank you for adding this FD. Mahalo.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Chair, I would like to just make a note of the amendment, the proposed FD1. The amount is, may I share that?
Yeah, please.
It's actually $3,628,420,363 as opposed to the I think I said 630 million as opposed to 628 million. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations to the motion to amend? Noting no objections or reservations, Bill 12, CD2 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1 as outlined in the motion. Any objections or reservations to waiving Council Rule 19G, the 48-hour notice requirement? Seeing none, the Rule 19G has been waived. Members, we are now in discussion on the FD1. Any further comments? Seeing none? Okay. Well, I do have a comment. You know, first of all, thank you, Chair Cordero and your committee for the hard work, as well as members who weren't on the committee but participated as well. I think the budget does reflect our and the administration's shared values and priorities, mainly public safety. The police officers, HPD's budget has increased. The fire department's budget has increased. The ambulance has increased. We found the money for adding 6 new ambulances to protect our community. We also have a commitment to our parks. You know, we live in Hawaii, and we like to recreate on our weekends and time off, and we want our parks to be the most beautiful possible, including fixing the bathrooms, fixing the showers, and make sure that the grass is cut, and make sure every part of the island is protected. And thank you, Chair Cordero, as mentioned by council members Say, fighting for the council members' priorities in this budget, which I believe it does represent. We put money in for disaster relief, hazard pay, affordable housing, homelessness, and as a testifier from the Boys and Girls Club, we funded numerous nonprofits this year. So thank you all for your hard work, members. With that, would you like to say a few words before I call the roll? Council Chair.
Sure. I don't know if you wanted me to share about the whole budget before we adopt all the budgets or at the end in the legislative.
I'll defer to you. Would you like to go now?
Well, yeah, but before we do move on action for the different budget bills, I do want to thank all of the members. I do want to highlight, extend a huge mahalo because it was long discussions and a lot of things that we do have to work through with our restrictions. And so I want to give our city clerk's office, our budget clerk, committee clerk, Darcy, our Office of Council Services, and our budget team, Denise, Lloyd, Sharon, Kyle, I see you guys over there, Gavin, Chrissy, Kamakana, and Diane, as well as Kenny, our Council Administrative Services, our Council Support Services team, and your office, Somerset, also from Council Support Services. I want to thank my budget vice chair and his team as well, but also all of the council members for their discussions, because not only are we fighting for our parks with Council Member Toba and public safety with Council Member Okimoto and ensuring that housing is a priority with the package and discussions that we are continuing to have with our city administration with the Council Member Wire, as well as Council Member Kiaina, always fighting for to ensure that we have equity not in our commissions but also for the lands and how we use that within our real property list, as well as Councilmember Say, who's always looking out for our future. He's been here for 48 years, been doing this hard work, really heeding the call of what's to come in the future. And I mean, we really should take a look at that and take that into deep consideration, as well as Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, moving a lot of things forward, making sure that our government's efficient, as well as fighting for for our communities across the island with public safety as well, and giving them the tools, as well as Councilmember Tupola, making sure that all of our infrastructure, and not just our city not just here on campus at our city facilities, but all of our parks and everywhere that we offer spaces for the public. And as you mentioned, as a council chair, fighting for the council members, because fighting for our council members who have a deep connection to all of our neighborhoods and all of our communities is going to be a win, not only for us, but also for the work of the administration. And with that, I do want to thank the city administration for their hard work. I've never spoken or had so many meetings with our administration. I know that Director Kawano and his team, Deputy Director Castle, probably sick of me, but I really want to thank them so much for all their hard work and just being open to helping us make this budget a balanced budget. Members, I've been through about 12 different budgets here at the council as a staff and now as a council member. I've never seen such a tight budget. You know, my staff here said that it's been a tighter budget in the last 2 years. I've never seen a tight budget like this, and I know it's only going to get harder. And so I really want to thank everyone. We all had to give up a lot. We all can't get everything, but it's really incumbent on getting the work started now to be able to work with our community, to work with the respective departments to get the work done. And right after we pass this, we're just gonna start blowing up the department's phones and emails as well. I do want to thank my staff as well. They work day in, all night with everyone involved. So I want to thank Dina Schwering as well as Robert Sato and all of my staff as well, because it really is a kako effort. And once again, I want to thank everyone. It was a really difficult, really tight budget. And I can't express that enough. Like I'm just overwhelmed with how difficult this was. So thank you all. And yes, I just want to thank you for highlighting all the numbers that we have too. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Budget Chair. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Just a few remarks about the operating budget. You know, in the last 4 years, I've learned so much about the city's budget process and all the work that goes into understanding every line item and detail. I just want to thank the administration and the departments for working with the council to get to where we're at today. I think you guys all know one of the things that I'm excited about is about DPR's initiative to provide resources for equitable park cleaning at our city parks, especially on the west side. It's a new strategy to have afternoon and evening special project units, which I think is good and a good adjustments worth trying, and hopefully our communities will come to appreciate it. So again, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here working on and the administration and the departments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Kiaino.
Thank you. Chair, I wanted to echo all of the comments made by my colleagues. Again, I just want to say it was a tight year, and this is probably one of my leanest years in asking for funds as a result of that, because we are not at the finish line yet on hazard pay. But I do want to thank the chair for all her hard work and for including my small items for $50,000 for the Neighborhood Board Commission and a nearly $6,000 to increase the salary for a staffer for the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission. If people are not aware, the State Historic Preservation Office Director has retired, and we should be all gravely concerned to have a highly qualified person to fill that role. Otherwise, all of the hard work that we've laid to have the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission work with SHPD would be for naught. And the other item that I put in was to have more representation on behalf of the city administration in Washington, D.C. I know that we have a lot of efforts being undertaken on federal grants capacity for discretionary grants among all of the agencies, but I do believe that it will not hurt us for the managing director's office to have the ability to be able to hire a DC lobbyist to be able to help the city to further our objective of increasing the amount of money we can receive from the federal government. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Say.
Yes, just one final thought. I do support the budget 110%, but in calculating for the next fiscal year out, Mr. Chair, I would like to plead to the colleagues across the street that if they can go back to the 70s, where each of the 4 counties got a grant in aid. A grant in aid to each of the 4 counties for whatever use that they may need to use it. It could be for housing, it could be for infrastructure, it could be for a lot of other things. But I must say this, I'm really happy as I drive by on Waialae. You look at Kamegi Park, the activities that goes on, and it's happening all over the county of Oahu. It's just a question, do the general public appreciate or they feel it's an entitlement? That's the question I have, because what we're doing here is affecting the lives of everyone. So in closing, my plea is to my fellow colleagues across the street that I hope that they will consider a grant in aid to the 4 counties of $50 million out of their total packaged budget that they have, and let the counties decide how best to prioritize that use of funds. Thank you.
Well, thank you. One last thing, I just wanted to thank Director Kawano from Budget and Fiscal Services, you and your staff, and all the departments who sat through the marathon budget briefing hearings. I think we did 12-hour hearings. And by the way, all 9 of us were there throughout the entire thing, not just the budget committee. So that, I believe, gone unnoticed, but not unnoticed. But again, Director Kawano, really appreciate you and the mayor for working with the council. I believe, like I said, this is a shared budget, and it really does show our shared values and priorities. So mahalo. Having said that, members ready to vote? Okay. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 155 has been adopted, and Bill 12, CD2, FD1 has passed 3rd reading. Congratulations, members. Moving to page 19, top of page 19, Councilmember Cordero.
Move that Committee Report 156 be adopted and Bill 13 CD2 as amended past 3rd reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
Oh, thank you. This relates to the executive capital budget and program for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
Thank you. Members, after considering all your amendments, I have drafted a hand-carried FD1 that presents a balanced executive capital budget for FY 2025. Is there a motion to amend? Councilmember Kia Aina.
I move to amend Bill 13 CD2 to the hand-carried FD1 identified as OCS 2024-0598.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation of the amendment.
Thank you. This appropriates $1,046,725,023 for the executive capital budget and program for fiscal year 2025. It also makes various substantive changes, which are noted in bold text in the amendment list contained within the bill from amendment list pages 1 and 4 to 9. It also makes various technical non-substantive amendments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, let's proceed to in-person registered testifiers. I believe we have Denise Antolini present today. Aloha and welcome. Thank you for waiting patiently. Please proceed.
There we go. Aloha, Council Chair Waters and members of the Council. I'm Denise Antolini, live in Pupukea on the North Shore. I'm here in full support of the North Shore Ocean Safety Center ask of $500,000. I wanted to thank all the people who have testified consistently in support. I think it's 100% across the board, so I feel like today is just getting it across the goal line, and with your support, we will get to this project. I also wanted to share with you some statistics that HESD provided to us about the urgent need on the North Shore. For the Wailua EMS station, for example, in the last 5 years, the demand has gone up by 30%. The number of incidents on the North Shore in the 96712 zip code is 15 round trips a day from ambulances all across the island. So the need is really urgent. I'm really grateful the council has recognized and supports that need for the North Shore Ocean Safety Center, and we look forward to it continuing to move along. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, are there any other registered testifiers?
Yes, Chair. We have Ms. Natalie Iwasa in the chamber.
Wonderful. Oh, no, she's saying no. Any other registered testifiers? Saying none. Let's move to remote testifiers. Looks like Chun James and Angela Melody Young. Chun James, please proceed.
Hey, aloha again. I am so sorry. I must have really given Kelvin Say a big heartburn. I I tried to respond, but I couldn't because I was muted. But anyway, I certainly agree with him on everything that he said because those are necessary evil that we cannot get away from. And I appreciate all the hard work. So Kelvin say, I'm so sorry if I confuse you with my conversation. Actually, I'm having a little hard time on my laptop because, Council Chair, when I see you, I cannot see the description of the bill anymore. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. But I understand we have to pay for a lot of things that we have no control of. And certainly my biggest beef and my biggest worry is the escalating and uncontrollable fees and costs that the Honolulu Rail is imposing on us. So yeah, thank you for your hard work and less and more.
Thank you. Next, we have Angela Melody Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the appropriation for the Ocean Safety First Responders Urgent Care Building in the District 2. So this appropriation, a council ad, as the Department of Construction and Design explained, does not secure the parcel and there is no promise of a parcel. I think that's what they said when they explained it to me when I called the departments. But it is an appropriation for environmental assessment if the parcel does get acquired. So the two community organizations that are advocating for it are the Sharks Cove Alliance and Surfrider Foundation, and their research improves the quality of health and environmental resources to push for prioritizing emergency response. And although I'm not from the district, the overcrowding of tourism and urbanizing affects all of us. And for example, urbanization and fragmentation of land leads to degradation and loss of interior habitat, as well as creating edge habitats. And these disturbances shift species habitats from rural to urban and enables the movement of invasive species such as coconut worms. And for these reasons, I cannot support a shopping plaza, which will cause overcrowding, which will cause disturbances to environmental resources. But I will be in favor of an emergency response building to help public safety concerns and to facilitate the emergency response in the district. So, you know, how and if cities apply urban planning management strategies for sustainability and urban development depends entirely on the urban planner. So I think it's really good to take into account these points when planning for a special district such as North Shore Haleiwa, because that is a special district.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Sure, I believe we had one other person in the chamber, Jay Yoder.
Hello, welcome. Hello, please proceed.
That button. Okay, sorry. Hi, I'm not Jamie Yoder, but my name is Kimo Chan. I'm in support of Bill 13. I help run Hawaii Inline Hockey. It's an all-volunteer nonprofit league that plays out in Mililani. This is the only hockey league on the island that's public, and we have players from all over the island that do play with us. Starting with just 25 players, we've grown quickly to over 150 players. We aim to provide a league that focuses on community and lifelong health, having our youngest player be 3 years old and our oldest player being 55 years old. The court is constantly in use, and we often run out of time to run the league. Weather is a huge hurdle for us because it only takes a slight drizzle to make the playing surface unusable. A large portion of our practices and games are canceled. Parents drive their kids to the hockey court through Oahu traffic from all over, only to have their practice sessions rained out. Recently we had teams from Maui come over for a tournament and only half the games got to be played just because of the weather. The rink as it is now has not had any improvements, and since it was built in 2000, The plans we have presented do include a solar roof that'll pay itself off in 5 years, and I'll guarantee it'll provide a place for all the Oahu and Hawaii to enjoy for many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you testifying today. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, Kale Wilbur. I'm with I am part of the Waianae Neighborhood Board. I chair Park and Recreations, and I'm in support of Bill 13 as far as improving the parks and stuff like that. Pili La'au is one of my big concerns. I've adopted the park, and I've also have neighborhood security watch, so we monitor the park regularly. Councilmember Tupola was a big part of that with our solutions plan and trying to put things in place. However, there are a lot of things that park was built by the plantation community years ago, and you can still see some of the items there. I have pictures of when they planted the first tree when the stalk was only an inch big by I believe Herbert's sister. So the history of that park, it's tremendous. It's like our one hub for football. It's the only dedicated football field on that entire coastline. The transition we did a walk in a park with Deputy Director Keaopu'u, the Deputy Director Krishna. We also had Director Kranki and Deputy Director Sam Moku there as well as HPD liaisons, and we did a walk and we watched the transition of afternoon activities into evening activities, and they saw how lighting and everything can really be such a dramatic effect on how the park gets used. Going from a daylight transition to a nighttime, we lose almost half of that facility, and yet we still are trying to service a lot of the keiki and stuff like that. I also started a park initiative that's called Parks, Pride Awareness, Safety for Pride Awareness, Responsibility for our keiki safety, and that what we did was we met with Neighborhood Security Watch before the SPOs went in place so that we could monitor the park at night. We do monitor it nightly, and we don't allow for activity to take place. However, there was an incident that took place, but that was actually on the street. Of course, they named Pili La'au Park, but it happened actually on the street outside of Pili La'au Park. Some of the things that they witnessed was speeding, going right past the park during a busy time. So there is initiative there. They have a monitoring system there. So hopefully we'll be able to get speed humps put in that area for the elementary school and for the park users and stuff like that. But again, I thank you, Andrea, for really being a big part of this, and thank you guys for actually bringing hope to Pili La'au and the Waianae community. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Pride, awareness, responsibility, and keiki safety parks. That's awesome. Thank you. Are there any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
I believe that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And, I think as you and folks have mentioned, I think for our amendments as well, generally touched on, of course, our parks, public safety, homelessness, increased housing opportunities, services for the most vulnerable, particularly our kupuna. And want to mahalo Denise Antolini for being a big driver on the first responder hub conversation, knowing there's so many in our community working on this issue. Just thank you for being down here all the time. I know you're working a mile a minute, and this is just one of the many issues you're working on to uplift our community and protect our island home. And understand that this is also the continuation of a conversation that's going to keep going for the next several years. And so look forward to conversation with Mayor and the community at the town hall. And want to just echo the things that have been shared for, Budget Chair, yourself, Chair, Mayor, and his entire team. Because I do think just the collaboration and diligence you folks have, exerted has really brought us to this point. And I think it's just allowed us to work together with all the administration and, of course, all of the support staff to really best serve our community. And I think it really is best served when everyone's working in the same direction, open to sharing ideas. And, of course, we're going to disagree on some of the fine points. But I think if we're putting our community first, I think, we'll always end up in a good spot. So just thank you, everyone, for all the work. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. This year, looking at the mayor's original proposed budget, our council members' amendments, it was evident that our key priorities, especially as seen here in our capital improvement project budget, is that our key priorities are enhancing public safety and improving our parks and recreational opportunities. We see here people who have come to testify time and time again throughout this budget process, from inline hockey to pool heaters to gymnasium roofs to even gates and where they should be locked and access ways, all to even also our paved parking lots. All these affect not just the operations of our parks, but also safety at our parks. Also in our budget, you see a lot of the safety aspects, whether it be for ocean safety and lifeguards support, but especially our HPD and HFD and the equipment that is needed to support all the departments. And I really want to thank the members because not only do we have that, but we also have a push for Emergency Resource Center in the North Shore. These are communities, these amendments are our heed to the city administration and showing our community that we are listening to them, and noting that all the communications throughout the rest of our fiscal years culminate to our budget, putting our money where our mouths are, and showing that we want to take it seriously, and this is how we start working on it with our administration. So I really want to thank all of our council members, whether it be from 5 gangway, motor vehicles, or, I don't know what that's called, certain things like that, to computers, to upgrading our technology that we use here at the city, but just making everything work. And I'm very grateful for all of that. Thank you to all of the members. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, just real briefly, I wanted to give a shout out to DFM. One of the things that I was really looking forward to making sure stayed in this was drainage, because flooding issues not only damage homes, but it actually does affect a lot of the parts of my district because we don't always have gutters and drains everywhere. I have a huge amount of rural land, agricultural land where that's just not even accessible. We have to get the water all the way to the closest drainage or ditch or stream, which sometimes is a mile or so away. So I'm glad that we have in there the things that they need. They do actually do a lot of things for us, from cleaning the streams to fixing the streets to potholes. So that grunt work, in addition to some of our the help they provide for our stored property ordinances. I mean, DFM pulls their weight and a lot of other weight. So just wanted to thank the director as well as his staff for their hard work, and hope that these budget amendments that are in this final budget are enough for them to continue their work and do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Kiaina, followed by Say.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. For my part, I prioritized in this budget, of course, we all are doing whatever we can to increase the number of housing units that we can at all levels of the income stream from our homeless populations onwards. And so I'm very pleased that we have $50 million for affordable housing projects and $25 million for community revitalization initiatives relating to homelessness. I look forward to the administration's ramping up and full establishment of the new department that would merge both your housing as well as your land division. And I just want to recommend that it's imperative that that the sufficient capacity and staffing is in each of the departments, because otherwise, when we give you money, we want you to be able to spend it down. And so I just wanted to echo what I said on the operating budget. I want to thank the budget chair, yourself, and all of my other colleagues for moving this bill forward.
Thank you. Councilmember Say.
Yes, Mr. Chair, in strong support. If there's any, not highlights, but any deficiencies and negligence on my part, there were three that I'd like to share with the council members. The first one, I truly hoped 4 years ago, we had addressed the storm utility fee. Everybody wants to fix their stormwater systems. There is no fee for it. June James, I'm sorry if I'm bringing this issue up. If it's a priority of our people of the county of Oahu that we should have stormwater systems in place rather than flooding, I would have to support a fee increase. So for the administration, in the first year, I believe you folks went out to the neighborhood boards, and I hope you folks will follow up on that. Number two, I'd like to share with everybody that volunteerism. Chair, volunteerism is a big part that I think the community would have to come together to support the county's facilities that we have also. They cannot just depend on our county workers for all of the services and et cetera. Cleaning the parks, adopting a park, that's some. Homelessness is another big issue that we all have to come together. And finally, 4 years ago, there was a talk with the former director, Mr. Kozlov. For the council members who are here this morning, let me just say this. This is your home. This is your home. This is your holiday. But we are not taking care of it. The budget will reflect that we are spending more now on O&M than trying to fix the holiday up to what it was 110 years ago. That is an issue that I feel selfishly that I should have done something in the past 4 years to support in a topic of how can we retrofit, refinish this holiday that is a home. I just found out a week ago, for all of you, that Corporation Council is not operating downstairs. Is it because of our infrastructure? So I share this with all of the members and the general public that there are so many priorities out there. But the first thing we can all do is to volunteer, to help out. And, for the city and the state and the federal government, sometimes you should just get out of the way. Let us do what we're doing as a community. Small things. But if I gotta get a permit, if I gotta get a letter to say, yeah, you are approved to get a group of guys to go and weed whack the small parks that we have, wow, that defeats the purpose for me. That's not the way I was brought up. We just go out there and do it. At the end of the day, you feel so happy you accomplished something on behalf of the community that you live in. So in closing, those are the three thoughts I have for the capital improvement budget. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
You gotta do them.
Sorry, members. Any objections or reservations to the motion to amend? Seeing none, Bill 13, CD2 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Now, any objections or reservations to waiving the Council Rule 19G, the 48-hour notice? Seeing none, Rule 19G has been waived. Any further discussion now on the FD1? Seeing none, now roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 156 has been adopted, and Bill 13, CD2, FD1 has passed third reading. Members, we're on page 23. Remember, we talked about going through page 20. We're on page 20. We talked about going to page 23. What I want to suggest is we power through that and take a brief lunch break, and then we can come back to page 7. Is that agreeable? Okay, wonderful. So page 20, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 157 be adopted and Bill 14 pass third reading. This bill authorizes the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds and bond anticipation notes of the City and County of Honolulu in a maximum principal amount equal to the aggregate of the amounts appropriated in the capital budget ordinance of said City and County for this fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, and specified in said ordinance to be financed from the proceeds of the sale of such bonds and to be expended from the General Improvement Bond Fund, the Highway Improvement Bond Fund, Solid Waste Improvement Bond Fund, or the Housing Development Special Fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and thank you, Councilmember Cordero, for the explanation. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, yes, we have Ms. Iwasa registered for this particular item.
Oh, she's withdrawing her testimony. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have one person online indicating their desire to testify.
Okay, looks like it's Angela Melody Young. Please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support. So these funds, the Housing Development Special Fund, General Improvement Bond Fund, Highway Improvement Bond Fund are integrated within the General Obligations Bond Bill 14. And these funds support infrastructure development, trash, energy recovery, bridges, and transportation. And so it's very important. Infrastructure is like the vehicle for delivering for the goals. And so these funds and projects are providing for the foundation of delivering the overall goals. And so I really appreciate all the work that's being done there from all the council members. Just to tag along with the thank you speeches. So this is such a big deal. It's a huge deal. As the series of budget debates went by, yeah, I just really got to see a lot of the hard work that's being done at the council. So yeah, I really appreciate everything. Okay.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Thank you. CR 157 has been adopted, and Bill 14 has passed third reading. Members, turning to the top of page 21, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 154 be adopted and Bill 11 CD2 as amended pass third reading. And this bill, oh, thank you.
Sorry.
And this bill is the legislative budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Councilmember Cordero, for the explanation. Members, after considering all of your amendments, I've drafted a hand-carried FD1 that presents a balanced legislative budget for FY 2025. Is there a motion to amend?
I move to amend Bill 11 CD2 to the hand-carried FD1 identified as OCS 2024-0596.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation of the amendment.
So this would appropriate $29,907,000 $1,004 for the legislative budget for fiscal year 2025. It also makes various substantive changes, which are noted in bold text in the amendment list contained within the bill. It also makes various technical and non-substantive amendments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa in the chamber.
Thank you. Aloha, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair, council members. So you just stated, Chair, that your hand-carried incorporated the prior FD1s, and I understood Councilmember Kia Aina to state that the 1 million that she had asked for a consultant for real property tax would be going to hazard pay. So that part of it's not clear, but I just wanted to comment on her proposed amendment, because I've been advocating for a system-wide review of the real property taxes for at least 15 years. And, I just feel that this is something that needs to be done. She mentioned that there would be a permitted interaction group that is formed. If that is done, then I ask that it have some public meetings, because I feel that the public needs to weigh in on these issues. And I also ask that you take, perhaps consider having the city auditor look at some of these processes. I've mentioned in the past, for example, that the paperwork that is required for the real property tax credit, some of the exemptions, goes overboard, and there's no need to burden our taxpayers as well as the city administration with extra stuff. So I think there are a number of options there with respect to that, and appreciate the proposed amendment that she had. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for for Natalie Wasa? Councilmember Kia Aina.
I just wanted to clarify something so there's no confusion. It was taken out, and I'm okay with it, because in all of our budgets, I guess I have to tell you that we have to, it's a rough year all the way around. So while I would have wanted it, I understand. And so I just wanted to make sure that was clear for the testifier. It's not for hazard pay, but I have to say that's the only thing that's on my mind, quite frankly, all the way around for the budget, because we're only at $115 million collectively, and it could probably range up to 150 to 170 million. And as a result, I think that we have to keep that in mind, because whatever we are unable to fully fund this year, after negotiations are done, it's going to spill over to the next year's budget.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Oh, I'm sorry. We're on public testimony. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Any remote testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Okay, now we're on discussion, members. Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the motion to amend? Noting no objections or reservations, Bill 11 CD2 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Any objections or reservations to waiving Council Rule 19G, the 48-hour notice? Seeing none, Rule 19G has been waived. Members, now we are in discussion on the FD1. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Toba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. Also, I did file, although it's not reflected on the calendar, disclosure of interest statement, Council Communication 171, similar to what Councilmember Talbot did. Thank you. Members, moving on to page 22 from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 160 and Resolution 24-61 be adopted.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
It determines the real property tax rates for the City and County of Honolulu for the fiscal year July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Councilmember Cordero, for the explanation. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa in the chamber.
Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa. For the record, I oppose this resolution, specifically the rates for the B&B and the residential A. You know, you folks are setting policy, and we've heard time and time again that we have a problem with the homeless, and yet people who are trying to keep their homes by maybe having a B&B, that's where they live in their home. Now you want to increase their rate to $650. That's an 86% increase in their real property taxes. And with respect to residential A, while I appreciate what was done last year, the minute somebody goes $100 over $1 million, they have an automatic increase in their real property taxes of 15%. These are, you know, people who are providing homes or people trying to stay in their homes, and it's just such an unfair and not equitable system we have. It's just I find it very frustrating because I've been saying the same thing for over a decade, and it doesn't change. So I ask you to take a look at. I also noted that there were 34 testimonies in opposition, the most I've ever seen testify on the resolution for real property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers? I do see as registered testifiers Kelly Lee and Michael Brandt. Is Kelly Lee available?
Yes, I am.
Aloha, welcome. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and Council members. I'm Kelly Lee with OSTRA, and we strongly oppose Resolution 2461. Our organization represents thousands of legal mid and short-term rental owners, cleaners, property managers, contractors, and others that rely on our rentals for their livelihood. Many of our Kapuna residents will face taxes that are nearly triple of what they've been paid in the past. We don't understand why you would do this to our residents at a time when they're barely making ends meet. Remember that these are the legal short-term rental owners. Those that are illegal will continue to operate and pay 1/3 of the taxes as their law-abiding neighbors. But this won't only hurt our residents. Extreme tax hikes will ultimately reduce the county's revenues. Law-abiding residents will be forced to choose between staying legal or staying on the island. In a recent town hall, the mayor said he never likes to create a policy that forces people to lie. These egregious tax hike rates will do just that. There's a third consequence, the undoing of the administration, council members, and the DPP's work to identify, regulate, manage short-term rentals. This was an important goal of Ordinance 22.7 that will be upending these punishing tax rates. Transient housing is important to our island. Per HTA, 25% of Oahu visitors are non-vacationers. These properties are not conducive to long-term housing nor affordable housing. You will not solve the housing crisis this way. You will create a different housing crisis, one that will have detrimental impacts on our islands and our residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Lee? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Lee. Next, we have Michael Brandt.
Thank you, Chair Waters. I'm in the awful position of standing between you and lunch, as the comic said. But let me speak. My name is Michael Brandt, speaking in favor of tax relief for vacation rental operators. In the face of the soaring property tax assessments we've had, some relief is needed and may well be the difference between people staying in business or not. We've been waiting for a year for this, so please go ahead with this and give us some relief. But I'd like to ask for something even more than that. I'd like for the council to show the vacation rental people your aloha. See us as your partners in maintaining the Hawaiian economy and the important tourist industry. The state has been saying such wild things about put them all out of business, like we're some aliens who've just descended, instead of long-term ethical operators providing a service that many people prefer. So give us your support as we do our part also. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, are there any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we also have Chun James standing by remotely.
Okay. Aloha Chun James, please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I know that the city is in a position where they have to look for higher taxes and more fees and more revenues from any nook and cranny they can. And I'm also, worried about all the tax rates. And, for me, if a Tutu or Kupuna is going to have a little vacation rental in her own home, I just do not agree that she has to pay higher fees and higher rates and this and that, because to me, it's already a very big inconvenience to have someone live with you and to have to take care of a guest and this and that. And those are the people who really we should not continue to exert more pressure and exert more costs, because then it really doesn't make sense. If they're trying to make a little bit income to survive, and every penny they make, the city's going to take a big part of that penny, it just does not make sense at all. And again, I'm just going to say, my biggest beef is with the Honolulu Rail. If we can contain the cost and reset the program, our budget will definitely not be as pressured, and we can have a lot of very nice things, and hopefully less taxes and less fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members who are in discussion. Councilmember Tupolo.
Thank you, Chair. I voiced opposition to this in committee, and I'm still opposed, and I just want some time to explain. I did file a council communication with most of what I'm going to go over to give people time to look through it and really analyze the data. I think Ms. James, as well as Ms. Iwasa, those who have testified in opposition, we have over 34 pieces of opposition and no written testimony in support, which I believe indicates that we're not at the middle of the threshold, meaning that we're still on the extreme side. We haven't found an even ground that we think actually can benefit all. And so I'm opposed to tripling people's property taxes, which really adds insult to injury, because in 2023, we had a huge valuation increase across the island. My district, most of the valuations went up 13%, but on the North Shore, they were hit as high as 20% valuation increase in their property taxes. And that was actually something that we could do nothing about. The mayor stated publicly that he's against raising property taxes, and I did sit with him and the administration to show how this is going against their policy statements. We've said here at the council that we're against raising property taxes, and I think we should be opposed to an increase this large. There is a misleading council communication from BFS stating that they were losing income, even though we are currently collecting $10 million, and every proposal that we had on the table was going to bring us more. Every proposal, because every proposal would be more than the $10 million that we're currently collecting from the 1,870 legal owners. Even the lowest proposal, which I put out at $6.50, I was hoping we'd strike a balance between the $9 and the $6.50, because I just thought that after we parse out all the numbers, it was too high. Our goal was to get TVU owners into the right category and not to do a money grab. We were trying to get the right classifications, the right people in there. We're trying to incentivize people to register, which we're going to discuss in another bill, that we're trying to make it easier so that more people who are in the legal resort areas will legally do this. And by tripling taxes, we're not going to be doing that. The more you tax, the less you get. The less you tax, the more you get. This is evident in states that have low taxation rates and attract residents, as opposed to states like ours where people leave more and more every year. Who are these operators? Well, there are 76% of them are residents, 77% are kupuna, and 7% of these operators are 75 years or older. I've heard the statement, well, if you're renting out these places, you're making a lot of money, so you can afford this. But who are we to assume that these people don't have children in college or parents that they're taking care of or medical expenses that they're able to handle because of this? I believe that this will actually prohibit local families from being able to take care of their own expenses that are keeping them here in Hawaii, contributing to our economy. I've also heard this statement, well, we have enough tourist accommodations, we need more houses. These short-term rentals, especially in my district, helped when 4,000 people were displaced because of the Red Hill crisis. In my district, these also have helped Queens West nurses. It also helps harbor workers. There are a lot of transient workers in my community that need short-term rentals so that they can actually work and provide the services because we're constantly shorthanded in the labor force. I do believe that our testifier, Sherilyn Fu, who's not here today, actually provides her houses half the year for the World Surfing League for all of our competitions, and then the other half of the year, she's trying to help her own family members have a place to stay. Our rentals are not solely for vacationers on this island. There is data that shows this is not an assumption. I've heard another statement that said, well, we're now comparable to other islands. Maui actually publicly released they had 6,400. We have 1,800, and the majority of theirs are for luxury rentals. I do believe that another statement saying that we're now below the resort rate is also misleading because the resort rate of $13.90, although much higher than the $9, is for hotels that bring in 42% of their income from other sources besides their units. Turtle Bay pays $3 million in property taxes a year. Their units will pay $4,700 per unit, where a nearby TVU in Turtle Bay will now pay $9,700 per unit in the exact same area. I pulled these from the website so that we could be accurate in the data that we're using to compare what we're doing. I believe that it's very punitive for us to come up with the rates without really taking a good look across all of these comparisons of what's happening on our island. I do believe that a lower rate would actually collect more money. A lower rate would incentivize registration, which all of these people are paying OTAT, registration fees, of which the administration budgeted only $200,000 in registration fees. If everybody re-registers, that's $1.9 million in registration. I believe that if we make a rate that incentivizes registration, that we will start to generate more income in the resort area. I filed Council Communication 135 with more of this data for people to look at. I do believe that we need to be more fair, especially in a time when these state bills that have come through will also be changing our housing market. I'm asking that we consider a lower rate, and I'm saying, and I have said to the Budget and Fiscal Services Department Chair, that I do believe that this is going to bring in more revenue over time. So for all those reasons, Mr. Chair, I'm in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Wire, followed by Councilmember Kia'aina.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted, I know we've had this conversation in committee and as a body, and, you know, generally, at my core, I believe that housing should be, or home should be for housing, right? And so we should be putting our local families, making housing accessible, whether it's through rentals or through for sale properties. And definitely don't think we should have more short-term vacation rentals on Oahu. But in terms of everyone I've talked to that's been involved on this particular issue, it seems like there is agreement that they should be paying more, short-term rentals should be paying more than residential or resi, given the nature of the use. And that includes folks that are, you know, own and operating these few thousand, I think it is, right? And just given, again, the complexity of who's impacted, because I think each owner is going to be different, right? And so just seeing the data at the number of kupuna that maybe are relying on this income, understanding that, you know, of course, this isn't a situation that applies to everybody, and of course, we don't want to incentivize or encourage more vacation rentals, understanding that we do have a legal pathway for them to continue to operate, and really I see this tripling of the tax, penalizing folks that have been complying with the law and are attempting to comply with the law. And I think that's why my concern during committee was just that, you know, maybe reducing it to 750 range, which would still be more than bed and breakfast, and still almost a doubling given that the threshold is around 800,000 for STRs. was just more fair and equitable and gave folks an opportunity to plan. Because I know the thoughts that were shared about folks having a windfall for all this time before, and I think that definitely applies probably in many situations. But I don't think it applies in every situation. And so I do think it is more reasonable to take a measured approach over the years and working folks towards how they want to structure their business, understanding that non-conforming uses aren't intended to last forever as well, but understanding that we want to encourage folks to comply with the law. And I do think we're going to see fewer registrations, we've already seen fewer registrations, right? And so I think we're going to slip into not focusing on what the real problem is, which is enforcing against all the illegal operators that are impacting our communities. And I do think I'm grateful for the work that has been going on, because I know we have seen a decrease, and appreciate the map that DPP has online for us to be able to go on and look and see where the enforcements are happening. And having met with the enforcement team from DPP that I know this council helped reprogram funds for last year, I do think we have a pretty good handle on what the problems are. And I think that allows us to move towards better solving, the gaps and the pukas that we have in our system. Because I think, as with most of the issues we address, most solutions don't exist in additional laws, right? It's in using the tools we already have, and maybe at times implementing, additional laws if we need them. But appreciate everybody's work. And again, I would be supporting, an oral amendment to maybe reduce the tier 1. But if the committee or full council is not open to an amendment, I'd be voting with reservations.
Thank you very much. Any further? Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire and Tupula, for your comments, and thank you for those who have testified. I concur and am very empathetic with our small B&B owners as well as TVUs. I think part of the problem we have is the current tier structure. We have only two tier structures for residential A. We have 2 tier structures for transient vacation units, and we have no tier structure for B&B. And as a result, those who are smaller, whose values are lower, may be adversely impacted because they're thrown in the lot with all of these multi-million-dollar homes. On May 14th, I introduced Bill 34, 2024, which would create a 3-tiered structure for all 3 categories. For each property classification, the tiers would be on the following values. For Tier 1, up to $1.3 million. For Tier 2, it would range from $1.3 to $3.5 million. And for Tier 3, it would be excess of $3.5 million. It is my hope that during the discussion of this, and whatever we potentially fall on, that we would modify the tier structure so we can take into account all that we have been hearing. And so that's my intent. I do know that for the residential A category, which are for homeowners who have a second home, who serve long-term renters, they're being impacted because it's up to $1 million, right? And although we provided some relief last year on the tax rate, I continue to be contacted by local homeowners who would like to see that threshold raised. Having said that, I, again, am empathetic also with our short-term rental owners as well, many who are local families who are impacted because of the valuation. And so I believe that if we can modify the tier structure with fair valuations, then the tax rate would be accordingly. And for many of our local families who are probably going to fall in Tier 1, I would like to see a more reasonable tax rate. So I just wanted to explain that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to thank both council members' thoughts. I do support, if there is any appetite for an oral amendment to bring it down, I would be in favor of that. And as Councilmember Wire stated, to give people time to adjust, because that adjustment in 2023 was rough for a lot of residents who went 13% up or 20% up without even having forewarning. We all didn't even have forewarning that valuations were going to go up that high. I also think that after my research of the B&Bs, of which we have 31 registered, all of them are over 2 million. And so I think the tier structure for B&Bs, which is missing, would also help, obviously, in fair property tax collection, of which that's not being discussed today, but I think that would be more fair. So I do know that 70% of the TVUs that are legal in the resort area are actually under the 1 million, which is what Councilmember Kiaina is alluding to, is that they would only fall in the first tax rate. So I am looking forward to possibly amending this and trying to, it's a heavy conversation, I'll say that much. I didn't come to all my conclusions overnight. I had to do a lot of research to kind of get my mind straight on what I thought about all of it. But I think that because we're passing the budget, I know people feel pressed to pass the rates, but I am confident that the way we're running the program with the bill we're going to discuss to ease in, make it easier for the registration, I'm positive that if we set a more incentivizing rate that's lower, more people will be incentivized to legally register and do the right thing. So I am hopeful that we can still find some space or conversation for us at the council to hear these concerns and find a middle ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. At this point in time, I would like to support the chair of what the rates are today, number one. And if there is that reflection that there's going to be a negative impact in the registration, they can always come back next year. But people have to understand, members have to understand, your real property tax is the only revenue source that we have. And I recall 3 years ago when we talked about it, that the previous council did not even address residential when they were short of cash. What category did they go after? $13.90 per hunt. $13.90, and that was for the hotel and resort. So who are we gouging today? I apologize if it's the transient vacation rentals and bed and breakfast. I'm not here to jeopardize the budget that we just adopted, because if not, we don't have a balanced budget. You call a spade, I'll call a spade a spade. And at that point, when we had a budget presentation with Director Kawano and Mr. Takara stating for the record why they had come up with this dollar amount, this is what they said. But we also had a discussion that we were going to lower it. Was there any discussion with the department that if we had lowered this $9 to 7.50 and the $11.50 to $9, I wanted to hear that discussion. But I did not hear that discussion. Because from that dollar amount of what we lowered is the amount that we have to reduce our operating budget. So at this point, I apologize for those who are in the industry, but I do support the chair of the Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? I just want to reiterate the point that you made, Council Members, Say, that the budget, as mentioned by our budget chair, is very tight. And if we do actually entertain a motion to amend these numbers, it could send our budget to be not balanced anymore. Yeah? So just keep that in mind. Not saying that it will, but since it is very tight, the loss of revenue by amending these rates could send our budget not balanced.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to follow one more statement. Members of the council, have you forgotten that in January or February of this year, UHERO came out publicly, and the Realtors Association came out publicly about how the assessments have been flat. Flat. If it's flat, how do you increase your revenue source? And that's with the rate. And that's where I'm happy I can share this with the general public in educating them. It's either the assessments or the rates. It could be both. That will be a windfall for the council. But we have always tried to focus it on rates first and then assessments, because assessments vary from year to year. So your property tax revenue values will vary, meaning revenue sources of that will be variable. So in closing, it is a tight budget because for us 5 members who are here 4 years ago, we came in with COVID. And it was the federal monies that really restored a lot of the services that we have today. And we have weaned the federal monies off to the general fund real property tax. And that's why I had to share with June how I felt, because I'm obligated to provide the services to the general public at large. So in closing, I do support the chair, and I'm sorry for those that I affected.
No, thank you. And I do suggest perhaps, as Councilmember Kia Aina pointed out, that we should constitute a permitted interaction group dealing with property taxes and get on that sooner than later. You know, we talked about doing that, and you know, we got caught up in other things, but we need to actually to get on that. Councilmember Wire, followed by Councilmember Tupola, and then Councilmember Cordero.
If Chair would entertain, I just wanted to ask Director Kawano a question.
Sure.
And as he comes up, you know, I'll just note, because we did have the discussion, right, during Budget Committee, where I think it was probably in the realm of like 1.23-ish to 1.8 million that would have been needed to be made up based on, you know, the various proposed CDs or committee drafts that were introduced, understanding that, again, this is projected revenue, so it's new money because we're increasing the rates. And, you know, as we discussed, you know, as Councilmember Tupola mentioned, I think there was some question about how much revenue is actually going to be coming in from registrations and what numbers could be adjusted. But just given the conversation, and I know we've met offline too, but could you just maybe opine on the conversation in terms of what the impact would be based on the previously discussed rates adjustments, right? So I know we had Tier 1 going down to 8, 750, I think 650 was one.
For the record, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, Chair, Vice Chair, and Honorable Council members. Unfortunately, I don't have the department communication in front of me, you know, with that information, but I do recall, I think you must have your number, Council member, so respectfully, I would say that your requested reduction from $9 to $7.50 would result in a estimated revenue decrease. I think it was about 1.8, if I recall right. Yeah, so if the number is set more, like at $8, the impact would be less, estimated impact would be less. And if the rate was dropped lower, it would be more, so.
Appreciate that. And I'll defer to Councilmember Tupola, because the second question I had was just in terms of the assessment of what fees are actually going to come in. And I know you had a couple meetings. I wasn't sure if BFS looked at the numbers.
So very, very roughly, our Real Property Assessment Division, they actually looked at each parcel. And as I mentioned in prior testimony, you're right. Some of the parcels increased because they were in residential, so their tax would go up. And others actually decreased because they were in a hotel and they got classified to TVU. So when you look at everything on a parcel by parcel basis, you know, in terms of TVUs and BNBs, and you do the calculation using last year's assessed values and this year's assessed values, and then you aggregate everything together, I believe our Real Property Assessment Division came up with an estimate of $3.5 million. So that was a tax increase with respect to the new TVU classification, and that's estimated because we haven't collected FY25 yet.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you,
Yes.
Chair.
Yeah, I'll ask a follow-up while Director's up there, if that's okay.
Councilmember Tipola.
I think the second part of his question was, what was put in the budget for the collection of registrations? What number did you have?
I don't have that number in front of me. So if you're talking about the aggregate number for TVUs and BNBs, just the gross number, I don't have it in front of me.
No problem.
But we did submit it, so it's in
Yeah,
in
so in the
certified
budget,
format.
you guys submitted 200,000. And so my argument is that if we have 1,870 now, and now we're actually making the registration easier by another bill we're passing today, what I'm saying is they pay $1,000 annually for the registration, which would be 1.9 million. So this revenue decrease by Councilmember Wyer's proposal is a decrease of 1.8. I'm saying is that if the actual registrations come in correctly and more people are incentivized because we took out some of the problematic portions of registration, we would bring in a more correct amount of registration and OTAT, which would be around the 2 million mark. So that's just the second half of his question. But thank you, Director. I know you made time for me and for him, and you guys answered tons of questions. So thank you. Chair, if I could just conclude remarks, but not questions.
Please proceed.
Yeah, so I do hear what Councilmember Say is saying. I read through what they submitted for the budget, how we needed to balance it. And I still am of the belief that if we do this correctly, we have this new registration process that DPP worked on to make it easier. We are still kind of in the learning curve of getting legal resort area TVUs registered. So I am still of the belief that even if we go to the $7.50, that it will not be a loss. It will be a gain because of the way that the registrations were parsed out in the budget. But I do think the budget chair, I'm not going against anybody else's work on this. I just think that as I looked at the numbers and projected forward in what I saw with the difficulty of those residents in Ko'olina that could not even get registered because of a lot of problems, I do think that the city will be benefited if we do this correctly. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Director Quano.
For the record, Andy Kawano again, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services.
Thank you, Director. I don't know where the 1.8 came from, but I'll just say 1.8 million. So first off, I just want to clarify that between myself as the budget chair, as you as the budget and fiscal director, I've come to you about 3 times looking for more than 1.5 and then 2 million, and then just as of yesterday for 2 to 3 more million of reduction in our budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. And with that close to $6-7 million in reduction because we need to find a balanced budget, will you be able to help us find 1.8 million more in reduction if we reduce these rates?
The answer right now,
from an equity perspective, I do think it's fair for the community members we have to say, hey, maybe don't triple our property tax rate over 1 year, like doubling is enough. And I do think that's a fair request, but appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, members. I do want to point out that even at $6.50 per 1,000, which is the new rate for bed and breakfasts, that's still 0.65 of 1%. Yeah, it's not even 1%. Or many other cities and jurisdictions have property rates well over 1%, in some instances 2%. Even with TVUs, and this is a transient vacation rental, which is a whole home rental for short term, and it's valued at over $800,000. That's $11.50, which is 1.15%. Again, in many other cities, the property tax rate is much, much higher than that. And of course, we are not touching our residential rate, hotel or resort, commercial, industrial, agricultural, preservation, public service, vacant agricultural, even residential A. We're not touching that. We did do a lot last year, you recall, with the one-time rebate based on the escalated value. So the last point I want to make is that this budget is based on projected income. And the projected income was also based on the new rates for bed and breakfasts and transient vacation rentals. And at the waning hours this week, myself and Councilmember Cordero did our best to find money for ambulances, as an example, right? To put money in the disaster relief fund, to put money in the fiscal stability fund to make sure we get the good bond rating. And again, that was based on these rates that actually the administration came up with. It wasn't a council-initiated rate. So I believe that Department Head Kawano did keep that in mind, and our budget was based on these rates. So, you know, I think we're treading on dangerous territory if we amend this, right? So happy to make this part of the permitted interaction group going forward. But I again, want to just show my support for Budget Chair Cordero, who was very thoughtful in coming up with this year's budget. And
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference.
Aye.
Councilmember Say. Councilmember Talba.
Reservations?
Councilmember Tupola.
No.
Councilmember Wire.
Reservations.
Chair Waters.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes and 1 no.
Thank you. CR 160 and Resolution 24-61 has been adopted. And thank you, members, for that discussion. I think it was very helpful. Councilmember Cordero, bottom of page 22.
I move that committee report 163 and Resolution 24-136 be adopted, and this resolution authorizes the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services to issue and sell in one or more series not to exceed $10 million principal amount of general obligation bonds of the City and County of Honolulu for financing the amount appropriated in the ordinance number 24 or Bill 13, 2024 CD1, and as may be referred further amended of the City and County of Honolulu for the purpose of financing capital costs of the Honolulu Rail Transit Project.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero did explain. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa in the chamber.
Okay, wonderful. Please proceed, Ms. Iwasa.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record, speaking in my individual capacity. So I just want to remind folks that this is part of the $214 million skin in the game that the legislature required of the city to pay for rail construction. This is real property taxes. We were told in the beginning that real property taxes would not be used to fund the rail construction. I just wanted to emphasize that, you know, I'm not comfortable with the current financial plan as far as the revenue projections on the GET. And now we have the legislature just passed the exemptions, which I think they should have done for the Medicare and related medical expenses or services. So, you know, I again ask, you know, what is your plan? Because when you adopted the full funding grant agreement, you reaffirmed going to Ala Moana. So, you know, what is the plan? Are we going to pay for that with real property taxes? Are we going to hope that the legislature somewhere along the line will give rail construction more money, which I don't think will happen, but I think the public really deserves a full discussion on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. Any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have Chun James standing by remotely.
Okay, please proceed, Chun James.
Aloha. Hey, I hope Natalie and I are not sounding like broken records, but we have been at the city council a long time. You can see us growing older and more impatient through the years. But seriously, when Mayor Cotwell was pushing for the Honolulu Rail so hard, he, like what Natalie said, promised that there will be no property taxes increase. Of course, the first thing he did was to throw residential A into it to get more money. And again, it's my opinion that the rail has come to a point where there's so many constant stream of troubles and mismanagement and malfeasance and low ridership and this and that. I think that we really need to rethink this whole thing. Of course, we cannot get rid of what's been built, but we really ought to try to contain the cost and reset it so that we can have nice things, so that every budget, we don't have the rail eating and competing for the same pot of money that we all need. And again, I point to the Porter report in 2012 that told us already that, yes, we can have the rail, but if we have the rail, we will not be able to service our core city services. Anyway, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, but thank you for all your hard work. And I certainly hope that we would really make a concerted effort to just plunge in and rethink and contain this biggest monster of our public funds. Just about the biggest, Calvin, but not quite the biggest. Thank you very much. And everybody have a good day.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
We also have Ms. Angela Young standing by remotely.
Okay, please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support. So as a concerned community member, I'm curious about if when legislating this resolution, if it considers streamlining and expediting funding for the HART train with the state's mass transit special fund. Do they share the pool of funds? Because the GEO bonds in this resolution, which is a series of bonds, and the bonds are issued from time to time in the series. The resolve is for the director to authorize the issuing of the GEO bonds. And this is a type of debt issued by government to fund projects which benefits the public, but it doesn't generate enough revenue to pay for themselves. So the GEO bonds are backed up by the government's ability to raise the taxes. So within the legislating of these GEO bonds, does it consider the Mass Transit Special Fund, which has $405 million. Yeah, so I'm just curious about that process.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members who are in discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 163 and Resolution 24-136 has been adopted. Moving to page 23, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 165 and Resolution 24-138 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
This relates to a transfer of funds for the Honolulu, relates to the transfer of funds.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk. Councilmember Cordero, I've been informed that your motion was for Resolution 24-138 CD2, which is on the bottom of page 23, which is fine. Let's just do that one first, and then we'll come back and do Resolution 24-137.
Oh, I can go back. Sorry.
Okay, let's clarify that and
apologize.
go back to the top of page 23.
Top of page 23.
Thank you.
I move that Committee Report 164 and Resolution 24-137 be adopted.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
This resolution authorizes the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services to issue and sell in one or more series not to exceed $180 million the principal amount of general obligation bonds of the City and County of Honolulu for financing the amounts appropriated in certain capital budget ordinances of the City and County of Honolulu specified in such capital budget ordinances.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Tauba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 164 and Resolution 24-137 has been adopted. Councilmember Cordero, bottom of page 23.
Thank you. Okay, right back on track. I move that Committee Report 165 and Resolution 24-138 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
Yes, this relates to a transfer of funds.
Thank you. Is there a motion to amend?
I move that Resolution 24-138 CD1 be amended to the hand-carried FD1.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation of the amendment.
So the hand-carried FD1 proposes to add a new second whereas clause to describe ROH subsection 2-17.2 C2, which relates to transfers of funds between characters of expenditures within the same activity where the cumulative amount of transfers from or to character of expenditure exceeds the lesser of A, 100,000, or B, the greater of 10% of the appropriation for either the originating or receiving character of expenditure or $10,000. It adds a new fourth whereas clause that states that the Honolulu Police Department is also requesting a transfer not to exceed $17,000 from the HPD investigations activity, their current expenses, character of expenditure, to the HPD investigations activity, equipment, character of expenditure, for fiscal year 2024 for the purchase of a computer server to replace the current combined DNA index system server that has recently stopped functioning. It also amends the be it resolved clause to say that $548,000 as opposed to $531,000 in general fund monies are being transferred between certain activities and characters of expenditures. It also amends the be it finally resolved clause to add the HPD chief as a recipient of the copy of this resolution. It also makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none. Excuse me, I have one person on the line with her hand up.
Okay. Looks like it's Angela Melody Young. Please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the resolution of the transfer of funds. And it's for the administration for the Emergency Medical Services Department. And the branch consists of 2 divisions and is responsible for providing emergency medical treatment, emergency team response, and it facilitates public safety matters. So in strong support.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations to the motion to amend? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 24-138 CD1 has been amended to the hand-carried FD1. Any objections or reservations to waiving Council Rule 19G? the 48-hour notice. Noting no objections or reservations, the 48-hour notice has been waived. Members, we are now in discussion on the FD1. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Seeing none, CR 165 and Resolution 24-138, CD1, FD1 has been adopted. Members, it is now 1:20. We've been at it since 8:30 this morning. Let's take a break and come back at, let's say, 2:10.
How about
Chair Waters?
I was going to recommend 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock? Okay, we can do 2 o'clock. That leaves us 40 minutes.
Hello,
Any
Chair.
objections to that? Seeing none. Councilmember Okimoto, will you be signing off at this time?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to inform you in the body that I'll be signing off at this time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, members, we're in recess until 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.